turn. Try again. All right, well, I think we got it worked out. All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors. Happy New Year, happy 2022.
This meeting is being recorded.
In case there are any questions about that, it is being recorded. It's January 4th. I'm going to ask our CAO, Ms. Tracy Riggs, to rise and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, again, welcome everyone. So we'll now look to our board clerk, Ms. Ryan. She's going to educate us all about the public participation procedures. We'll open the meeting for public comment, and then you'll have an opportunity to speak at the dais. Ms. Ryan.
Thank you. Happy New Year, everyone. In order to protect the health and safety of our Tuolumne County citizens, this board meeting is open to the public with modifications. Face coverings are required for all attendees, regardless of vaccination status. During the board meeting, citizens who wish to provide public comment will be invited to do so by the board chair. Citizens who are physically present will be called first. Citizens who are not present and wish to provide remote public comment via Zoom may use the raise hand feature on their computer or press *9 if participating by phone to enter the queue. The moderator will read the last 4 digits for phone-only participants in lieu of a name. Zoom webinar via your computer at https://zoom.us/j/98737385155 and or phone only at 1-669-900-9128 with webinar ID 98737385155. Please note, Zoom webinar services tends to have a reduced broadcasting delay in comparison to the Access Tuolumne live stream and is suggested for the closest to real-time viewing and listening. Written comments may be submitted by U.S. mail at the above address or email to bospublic@co.tuolumne.ca.us for retention as part of the administrative record. They will not be read during the meeting. Options for public access audio and video live streaming. The public will not have access for public comments via these media options. They are available for audio and video only. Access Tuolumne at www.accesstuolumne.org and click Watch Live and or Comcast Cable 8. Note, Granicus live streaming through the county website is currently unavailable. Important public notice, pursuant to AB 361, members of the Board of Supervisors can participate by teleconference. Accessibility requirements: if you need SWIFT special assistance during the board meeting, please call 209-533-5521.
All right, thank you very much for that, Ms. Ryan. Our board values public participation and encourage community members to take this time to provide comment on matters of county interest. This section is for comment not related to items on the agenda. The public comment time limit of 3 minutes per speaker applies, and no action may be taken by the board on topics discussed. Your board members are listening carefully to these comments and appreciate you taking the time to make it a personal investment in our community. So at this time, if there's anyone from the board chambers that would like to speak, I'd invite you to the podium now. Good morning.
Good morning, board. My name is Dennis Spizek. I was a 20-year employee here in the county, a retiree, and when you guys changed insurances, I don't know if you're aware, our cost as a retiree went up $150 a month. It's quite a hit to our budgets, and I know that you're looking at the total cost for everybody, the workers and retirees, but I don't know how many total retirees are, but if there's something that you guys can do to lessen the blow for a year and kind of let people work into it, it would be greatly appreciative, because everybody in the past put out their best, worked 20, 30, 35 years in this county. So I'd appreciate anything you could do for us and the rest of the retirees. And if anybody needs to talk about it later, you have my phone number. Please give me a call. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir, very much. Good morning.
Chairman, Board of Supervisors, nice to see you again. Just a couple of things. Our company travels a lot, and we have to go through airport security regularly. I've been to Europe, I think, 4 times this last year. I'm going back again on Saturday with 5 of our employees in all. And I have to say that what Shevchenko has done here over the last couple of years has been tremendous, and we're lucky to have him. I hate to see him go. I think he's had a steady hand, and we were really lucky to get the Moderna shots based on RNA as opposed to chicken egg incubation, and it's probably the best thing that could have happened to us. That's one thing. The other thing is I came back from Europe and then had to go to New Mexico, and while I was gone, we had a snowstorm up in Twain Harte that just wreaked havoc on things. And I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of Baron von Munchausen disease by proxy, but when a parent has a kid that they want to be the hero for, they sometimes will make the kid sick so they can take him to the hospital and get him cured. That's what PG&E does for us. They go ahead and do a lousy job, and then they come in with their team and they put back the same poles they were supposed to underground years ago. And when I got into it with PG&E last summer, I asked Anaya if you guys would have any interest in trying to get an injunction against PG&E putting in these bogus poles. And he told me that he checked around and the board wasn't really interested in trying to do an injunction against PG&E. So I had to park my van out in front there, and they sued me. They tried to get a temporary restraining order against me, and it didn't work. And that happened at the very time that the Dixie Fire was ramping up, and the new PG&E CEO said, undergrounding is the only thing that works. So I want to encourage you guys to try and figure out how to become activists, not emergency responders, but emergency activists, in terms of forcing PG&E to give us a timeline of when we're going to get our undergrounding done. This will happen again and again and again. And the snow we had this last week or so reminded me of when I was up here as a kid. There was lots of times there was snow like that. We can't take it anymore. And on our street, we had a tree go through one guy's house, but on Twain Harte Drive, they had poles blow down, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the great new transformers they put up on my composite pole that they agreed to finally do blew up while I was gone. So can you become activists? Why not go ahead and start picketing PG&E? Why not go ahead and just, the next time we got good weather, hammer those guys, because this is affecting us summer and winter. Thanks.
Thanks very much. Good morning.
Good morning. Jeff Musio with Hazy Bulldog Farms, with my co-owner and wife, Courtney Musio, and the marvelous Monty Musio, our mascot. I stand before you today to once again ask for commercial cannabis activities to be put on the agenda. In the past, we have had overwhelming support for cannabis in our county. However, this council has failed to listen to the people of Tuolumne County. Over the last 3 years, hundreds of supporters have flooded this room with expectations of commercial cannabis operations to be allowed and lift this county out of its depression. During this time, we have had 2 separate votes concerning cannabis in our county. First was Proposition 64, which passed with the majority of votes. This was to legalize adult use of cannabis. The second vote was Measure M. This asked residents of Tuolumne County if they wanted cannabis business tax in our county. This was passed with an overwhelming, undeniable 63% approval. Extremely definitive. The fact is, cannabis has been in favor for every state and local measure since 1996. Has never failed. Another show of support in Tuolumne County has shown commercial cannabis operations is a petition signed by, over 1,400 county residents. This is about 3% of the population that all agreed to sign the petition showing their names, their professions, and their willingness to allow Hazy Bulldog Farms to commercially operate a cannabis farm. This, of course, would be done in the industrial agricultural zone. During these last 3 years, Hazy Bulldog Farms has operated a profitable cannabis business in the city of Sonora. We have done so with 0 infractions from the state and very little impact on the city. Even Chief Vanderweel from the Sonora Police has backed this statement and has stated so publicly in city meetings. Currently, Tuolumne County has unemployment rate of 6% as of October and has a shrinking population. Many of the jobs in this area, especially jobs for young adults, are low paying with zero benefits. Hazy Bulldog Farms pays well and has medical benefits they provide for all full-time workers. A way to measure the workforce for regular jobs versus jobs at Hazy Bulldog Farms can be easily compared with this simple metric. In early December, the top job-producing companies in our county had a job fair. This job fair was a complete, embarrassing flop. There are 29 companies trying to fill 150 job openings. With only 96 job seekers that attended, this is a major indicator that people don't want jobs being offered by this county. On the flip side, Hazy Bulldog Farms, at this very moment, has over 500 applications for one bud tender position. This is a major indicator that people want higher paying jobs that interest them. Currently, these people are being denied their pursuit of happiness due to local regulations. That is an extremely tough pill to swallow. As always, anytime you guys want me to show you my Indeed file showing all these applications, my book showing our revenue, or our customer base showing our popularity, let me know. It's undeniable. The last thing I want to bring up in 2023 is the year large corporations are allowed to join the cannabis industry in California. These corporations have already started and will continue to lobby state leaders. In doing so, the first thing on their agenda is to remove local municipalities from having any say in the cannabis industry. It's extremely important you have a local individual who is willing to fight against these guys, that is willing to bring money to the local sheriff so they can fight the illegal grows and bring jobs to this county. You guys, we live in a republic. We vote for our leaders to get in, and those leaders are supposed to represent their constituents.
Thank you.
I believe the constituents of Tuolumne County have
Thank you.
spoken extremely clearly.
Thank you, Jeff.
There's zero evidence to the other side of the equation.
I understand. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's right. I thought that was a 1 minute mark. Thank you very much, and have a great day, everybody.
Apologies. Thank you very much. Have a good day and a happy new year.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Yeah, happy New Year, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. So
Welcome.
a few board meetings ago, I gave each of you a copy of this book. It's called The Dangerous Truth About Today's Marijuana. And I wanted to just read, first of all, I hope you're all reading it. It's a very compelling story. I wanted to read just a clip from the introduction to the book. This is from a Bertha Madras, PhD, professor of psychobiology, Department of Psychiatry, Harvard Medical School, and McLean Hospital. Laura Stack has transformed the tragic death of her son into a positive movement and narrative to alert parents, youth, and policymakers on the hazards of marijuana and its lamentable outcomes in vulnerable users. Her compelling book proffers the grief of her son's story combined with objective information that should be digested by those who believe that marijuana is a safe, non-addictive drug. We revere the human brain and aspire to protect it from drug-induced injuries, compromised function, and disease. Why? From my perspective, and many on the front lines of public health, medicine, or neurobiology, this is not a war on drugs, but instead a defense of our brains, the repository of humanity. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak? Good morning.
Good morning. Happy New Year. I have kind of a rhetorical question on what kind of community are we and what kind of community do we need to put out there? Because I've just been horrified in the last week or so. I was at the Upper Safe Mart, who's like my second least favorite business in Tuolumne County at the moment based on their behavior. And there was an employee there, and someone came into the store and wished her a happy holiday. And she turned around and snarled at the customer that she wanted Merry Christmas and not to take the Christ out of her Christmas. And she was very offended at happy holidays. And is that the kind of community that we've become, where we snarl at people? It was very disappointing. On the news front, Joann's will no longer be selling sewing machines in our community. So if you want to buy a sewing machine here, good luck. So I think they're about the middle of January, I think is when they're going to stop. I guess if you take your Christmas trees for mulching at Solid Waste this month, you can get a free bag of mulch. The Master Gardeners are going to be doing a polystyrene collection the first weekend in February. And then I would like to send a thank you, despite Bruce Erickson, to PG&E and TUD. Because as I was out and about, there were a lot of PG&E employees that came up here from other areas. And they were staying in our hotels, they were going to the restaurants. So, and they weren't having an easy job of it. So thank you to them, thank you to TUD that we now have water again and we can take a shower. And then at some point, I think you do need to put commercial cannabis on your agenda. Jeff's come to you several times now and he came with a petition, and to just ignore his request is not how I want to see the public treated in Tuolumne County by this board. And I want to thank Clark Broadcasting. They've had several news tidbits on driver safety, which I appreciate. And they also reported the state statistics for the New Year's holiday. There were 36 deaths. 2 of them were motorcycles, 2 were pedestrians. There were 1,200 DUI arrests. And of course, we couldn't get any local information on what had happened here. So I would like to see an agenda item where we get people in the stakeholders and talk about driving and what we can do for pedestrian, bicycle, motorcycle safety, because TCTC isn't working for me.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else from the room that would like to speak? Okay, do we have any hands raised on Zoom? Okay, so I will close oral communications at this time. Thank you very much, everyone. Move on to staff reports. Are there any staff reports from staff may present public service announcements, accommodations of staff, and brief project updates. No action may be taken by the board. Good morning.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. Dory Beats, Tuolumne County Office of Emergency Services. A few little updates. As you know, your board's Fire Safety Advisory Committee will be having the second in a series of public meetings discussing the planned vegetation ordinance this Wednesday, January 5th at 6:30 p.m. We have flyers posted on social media as well as several of our website pages. And we also have flyers here for the public if anyone's interested. If you missed our last public meeting, you can also go to both our Fire Safety Advisory Committee webpage or OES and click on the link to watch the recording from the previous or the first public meeting. As you know, the Office of Emergency Services had a busy year, and we wrapped up the last 12 days or so with quite a bit of activity. From the Twain Harte Lake Dam incident on December 23rd to the record-breaking Sierra snowfall Christmas weekend, to the Tuolumne Main Canal failure, to power outages for thousands of residents, we wanted to take time to acknowledge the many county staff and operational area partners that work with us to provide for and protect our community. We would like to thank the following. To our fire and first responder agencies, Tuolumne County Fire, CAL FIRE, all of our fire districts, Sonora City Fire, Sonora City PD, Tuolumne County Sheriff's Office, and Tuolumne County Animal Control. Countless hours of answering calls, making welfare checks. These men and women missed many moments with their families over the holiday weekend to make sure to protect our community and provide for them. OES takes a lot of calls during these times, whether it's in the middle of the night or during the day. And one call was from a homeowner who had a tree fall in their driveway, but the tree trunk was within the county road right away. They couldn't get out, nor could they plow their driveway. They finally called us, and with one call, we had someone up there removing that tree. They called us back and wanted to make sure we knew, and they wanted the public to know how much they appreciated us taking their call and doing something right away. And we would really like to thank Tuolumne County Public Works and our roads crew, especially Mike Cognetti, who answers the call at any hour, literally, and making things happen. So thank you, Mike, Kim, and all of your staff. During the storms, most truly do not understand what they go through to make sure that we can get out and about. Every day during these moments, we also have operational calls with our partners, and one of them was PG&E. We are so fortunate to have them as partners, and even though many are not always happy with the time it takes to restore power, PG&E reps in our area work very hard to make sure we are always informed. From how long the power will be until restoration, or when the main canal would be repaired, they sent us emails, texts, and called us with important information. PG&E also provided 200 comfort care kits that consisted of a blanket, some snacks, water, and a phone charger. We supplied these kits with our fire agencies and law enforcement officers to pass out to those individuals that were in need as they came across them. Another utility partner we would like to say thank you, of course, is TUD. With the main canal failure and the need to conserve water, they notified us right away, and we worked to make sure that they had the support they needed. They took calls even to assist with getting contacts to other utility agencies when we could not do so. True partners, and we are very grateful. As we entered the last week, operational area partners talked every day about the need for a warming shelter. While the threshold for extreme temperatures were not met, we decided on Tuesday, December 28th, that with the extended power outages and notifications from our sheriff's deputies that there were elderly and others in need, we made the decision to open a warming shelter for 24 hours. A huge thank you to the amazing Rebecca Espino staff from Health and Human Services, Behavioral Health, Public Health, and Social Services who rallied to staff and prepare the enrichment center for that 24-hour shelter. We have a lot of committed and dedicated staff within Tuolumne County, but this group never ceases to amaze me in how they just make things happen. Heartfelt gratitude as they took care of everything for us. The Enrichment Center served 18 individuals during that 24-hour period, and 3 of them spent the night. We also reached out to our faith-based partners, and again, the Word of Life Fellowship, without hesitation, agreed to serve as a warming center for those in need farther up the hill. While no one came in, it was nice to know we had a place, and we are thankful we have them as a partner here in our community. Another true partner, of course, is the American Red Cross, and a special thank you to Debbie Calcote, who made sure we had access to a trailer filled with cots and supplies to be used at the Enrichment Center. Debbie drove the trailer herself from while managing 3 different centers in Calaveras County. And she also arranged to make sure that we had partners who were serving meals during that 24-hour period. Thank you, Debbie, and to Red Cross. While we could not provide services to everyone, what we do and what we were able to do is obviously a work in progress. But we wanted to publicly appreciate all of those who assisted us and our communities these last 2 weeks. If I've missed acknowledging someone, just know that we are very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Dory, we're very grateful of you as well. I mean, you had some scheduled time off that you did end up not taking because you were here running things. So we really had a good team effort these past 2 weeks.
Yes, very grateful to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, other staff reports? Okay, no more staff reports. We'll close that section of the meeting. Thank you very much, everyone. And we'll move on. I'm going to make an executive decision here. We're going to move on to item 14 on the agenda. Ms. Ryan, could you read that item for us?
Item number 14, election of the chair and vice chair of the Board of Supervisors of the County of Tuolumne for 2022.
Okay, so it's traditional or normal that the first Tuesday of the year that we elect a new chair and a new vice chair for the Board of Supervisors. It's been a great honor and a privilege for me to be the chair this past year, and so I'm looking forward to handing things off and letting someone else have an opportunity to lead these meetings. So at this time, I'll see. So I think we can start with public comment unless any comments from staff. Okay, so is there any public comment on item 14?
Well, I'll just say that Anaya has my full, wholehearted support to be the next chair, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you very much. Okay, are there any more comments from the room or any hands raised on Zoom? Okay, so we'll close the public comment portion of the meeting, bring it back to the board. At this time, I'll open up for discussion, or if there are any nominations for, shall we do this as one shot or break it up? I guess we'll just look for a nomination for board chair first.
I'd like to nominate Anaya Kirk to be the vice, to go from vice chair to be the chair.
Okay,
I'd second that.
all right. And then looking to county council, can we just ask for nominations for vice chair? Okay, so I would like to actually nominate Supervisor Kathleen Half to be vice chair for our board.
I'll second that as well.
Okay, so we have a motion for chair, Supervisor Kirk, motion by Supervisor Half, second by Supervisor Goldberg, motion for vice chair, Supervisor Campbell, vice chair, Supervisor Half, motion by Supervisor Campbell and second by Supervisor Goldenberg. If there's no other discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in,
Roll call, Jan.
okay.
Or Jaren's on.
So Jaren is available. Okay, so we'll do the roll call vote. All those in favor, please say aye, and I'll ask for Ms. Ryan to read the roll.
Supervisor Goldenberg,
Aye.
Supervisor Campbell,
Aye.
Supervisor Kirk,
Aye.
Supervisor Half,
Aye.
and Supervisor Brandon.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much, everybody. And so I'll hand that off to Supervisor Kirk, and he's going to be leading the way here.
All right, well, you guys ready?
And I'm going on mute
I
right
was gonna
now.
make paper airplanes and start throwing them around. First of all, Carol, thank you for those words. Appreciate it. You're here at every meeting, so what you say does carry some weight, so I appreciate that. Before I get started, I first of all want to thank Supervisor Campbell for his leadership role. For those of you who don't know, this board is fresh off the press. We all are only within one term. So Campbell coming on board, being the chair this year, me being the vice, working with basically 3 brand new board members, still learning our roles. There were many times during board meetings where I would think, I'm really glad Ryan's the chair right now because I don't know if I would have handled it this way. So thank you for your leadership role. Thank you. We've grown as we've sat here the last 3 years. I look forward to another year serving with you guys. To me, the chair, it's another position where, yeah, we're kind of in charge of the meeting and we have some other duties that we need to do. But really for me, I think it's more of some people think it's a leadership role. For me, it's more of a servant role because instead of it just being mainly focused on what I'm trying to do, what I'm about, you really have to work with your members and you really have to but you have to walk that line and try and get things accomplished, even when you may not see eye to eye. We're here to serve the majority of the board, and that's what I'm here to do. And for those of you who don't know me, what makes me tick, there's a lot of things that we have to represent up here as board members, but for me, what's near and dear to my heart is my family and my children, and the children of this community and the families of this community. So you might hear me talk more about that in the future, but I know we're all here for the right reasons and our heart is right. And I know that we're very ambitious and we're very young and that is great, but it also can have some drawbacks. But I think what I'm committed to this year is really, now that our board has a year behind us, we can really start diving into being really efficient and really pouring into our staff to get some things accomplished. And so I didn't have a speech prepared. That's just all off a whim. So bear with me. I think the first 2 meetings might be a little rocky as I figure out the whole format of this, but I'm looking forward to serving this board and serving this community, and thank you for the opportunity to serve you guys. Thank you. Okay, so with that being said, I believe we're going to do items 15 through 18, and then we will, or Tracy, did we want to do the 9 o'clock appointment? What's that?
Just sorry.
What's that? Oh, the gift. I'm sorry. Thank you. See, I'm already going to need help. So Ryan, in this box, this very heavy, heavy box is a gift that you cannot open until the next board meeting. So I'm going to put it in front of you. I would say that something was stuck on a ship out in China, but that's not the case. But next week we will open your gift. Does that sound like a plan?
Sounds awesome.
I think you know what
Thank
we're
you very
talking
much. I'm not sure. I might have the sheriff inspect it for me first.
It's
so.
yeah, very special. Don't yell that word in here. It's crazy days. Okay, so with that being said, do we want to go to 9 o'clock appointment?
Please.
Okay, we have, we're going to move to our 9 o'clock and then we'll come back to the other items. So with that being said, we're going to invite up, let's go to public health for the presentation and planning status on COVID-19.
Good morning, Chair. Congratulations on ascending to that position, and good to be here. Eric Sergienko. Unfortunately, Director Espino is not with us this morning. She had an emergent conflict that came up, and on short notice let us know that she would not be here. However, no additional comments that she would normally make, but again, our usual update on our response and what is happening in terms of COVID right now. Next slide, please. So I wanted to kind of change this slide up a little bit. Typically we talk about cases in the United States in terms of numbers and cases in California numbers. I thought a graphic would actually be much more, picture worth 1,000 words here. This is a graphic from the New York Times of cases in the United States, and it really pictures well what has happened in other parts of the world, is currently happening now in the United States, is this exponential growth of cases that are associated with the Omicron variant. As we will discuss today, we have not confirmed in Tuolumne County that we've had Omicron cases here, but we are starting to see this increase in cases that have been seen in other parts of the world and other parts of the United States that suggests that we have it here. Currently, since our last report, we've had almost an additional 500 cases, and we've had an additional 4 deaths. Currently, we've got 4 of our residents hospitalized, with a total of 9 COVID patients hospitalized at Adventist Sonora. Next. And again, this is our dashboard by episode date. So that blue bar chart. Again, we had been throughout pretty much the month of December with a fairly low case rate, bordering between the substantial level of transmission and the high level of transmission as shown in the CDC data tracker. What would have been in the blueprint for a safer economy, sort of wending between the purple tier and the blue tier. But over the last 4 to 5 days, just seeing this extensive growth in cases with a significant number over the last weekend. Next. And that this is a graphic that is dated at this point. This was done prior to the New Year's Day weekend, but the black line is Mono County, and that's kind of where we're trending now within the counties that are in the San Joaquin side of this is for the Yosemite Gateway area counties. And because Mono County gets a lot of traffic from LA and Southern California, they saw the increase in cases before we did. But I suspect that when we come back and look at this same slide a week from now, or even when it gets released tomorrow, that there will be this growth in cases within the San Joaquin Valley. Next, please. And this is where a zoom would really help. But if you could focus on the right-hand side of the graphic, this again from last week, where we as a region were trending pretty level, but Southern California, the Bay Area, and California all overall, because those 2 areas have a significant amount of California's population, were all trending upward and going towards this exponential growth in cases. That said, I do want to say that even with seeing the Omicron variant emerge in Southern California and in the Bay Area, we're still seeing a benefit in vaccination, where, in terms of cases, I actually think that's probably going to decrease because we do know that there is more vaccine and natural immunity escape with the Omicron variant. But we're still seeing some benefit with that. But we're still seeing a 15 times reduction in hospitalization, a 15 times reduction in death in those who are vaccinated. And that's holding true in other regions of the United States and in other countries, that difference between vaccination and unvaccinated in terms of hospitalization and death. In terms of healthcare surge, we are not yet seeing within our region. What I keep saying is we're kind of in this line between strain and surge where we're meeting the need, but really all it will take is an additional 5 to 10% of patients being COVID positive to push us back into surge. In talking with Dr. Vashampayan, who's the health officer for Stanislaus County, they had 50 admissions yesterday that were COVID positive. And so that is a significant increase, basically a 50% increase in the number of patients with COVID in their facilities. Again, at Adventist Sonora, we've been averaging around 9. And to provide clarity on that, those are people that are actually having COVID symptoms, not just people who are COVID positive. Next. So our primary concerns right now, and as I've mentioned, is we will see an increasing case rate with the Omicron variant. And again, not so much concerned about the case rate, but again, as we have an explosive number of cases, a percentage of those will require healthcare, will require hospitalization, and that has the potential to put us into healthcare surge. So we've increased our planning and coordination on that. The state is hosting a every other day call to monitor for surge and to monitor for unmet healthcare needs so that they can shift resources around the state as needed. As most people know who've been looking at the news, is that the CDC modified their isolation and quarantine guidance on Monday of last week. The state issued their revisions on Thursday, just before we went into a 3-day holiday. And so we put out our isolation and quarantine. We really know that that was a risk-based decision, that it will likely increase the number of cases, but it is hopeful that it does not increase the number of hospitalizations, but will allow for more critical infrastructure to return to work at an earlier period. So when I've talked to the board about making risk-based decisions, this is clearly evidence of that and where the feds and the state are going. We will continue to message on the importance of vaccination. As demonstrated in that slide, there is still advantage even with the Omicron variant. And then bottom line is, regardless of whether you think it's the cold, flu, COVID, anything else, if you've got symptoms, please don't go to work. And we've seen, again, ongoing workplace clusters related with that. Next. So again, reflecting a little bit more in depth on Omicron and where we're going with that. This is what's currently happening in South Africa, is that they are past their peak of hospitalizations. Their level of hospitalizations was just below the peak they saw with their Delta wave. They had about an 8-week period of a surge, and so when we look at that for the United States and for California, it is likely means that we will be peaking in the next week or so and then declining through the rest of January. Next. Similarly, in the United Kingdom, looking at that as a similar population to us in terms of vaccination, they are seeing an increase in hospitalizations, but not at the same level that was seen in South Africa. It is still straining their healthcare system, so we're still monitoring that, seeing how that pans out. Next. And then the other place that we're looking at, in addition to other large areas, is New York City, because they were one of the first areas to experience Omicron in the United States. Their healthcare system is straining as well. So that all those areas, regardless of their urbanization, regardless of their vaccine uptake has seen an increased level in hospitalization that is straining and perhaps surging the system. Next. So shifting gears a little bit to the updated guidance. This is has been a challenge to explain, is because it does call for different categories, especially for quarantine. We'll get a little bit more into that. For isolation, though, it's for anyone who has symptoms and tests positive. It's a 5-day isolation, and then if they have improving symptoms or are asymptomatic, they can come out of isolation at 5 days, but have a need to continue to wear a well-fitting mask for those additional 5 days. And as has been indicated previously, a mask is a requirement in any of our public spaces anyway. For quarantine, those are people who are close contacts of a positive case. They are in quarantine for 5 days, and then again test at 5 days. If that is negative, they can come out. Antigen tests may be used. PCR may also be used. The reason for shortening this requirement was we know that the incubation period for the Omicron variant is shorter than the Delta or previous variants, with an average incubation period of about 2.2 days as compared to 4 to 5 days. So we know people will can potentially come out of quarantine earlier because of that shorter incubation time. I will say that is a median average, not the majority, or it is a majority of people, but that still does increase some risk of transmission, and that's what we'll be monitoring for. Next. The other confusing thing about this is that if you are in a workplace, Cal OSHA can only modify its emergency temporary standards twice. And so my understanding from the state is that this expires on the 14th of January. They will let it expire, and then they will issue another emergency temporary standard on the 15th. And then that will basically point to the CDPH guidance saying that in the workplace that you will adhere to the CDPH guidance. For now, that creates a bit of confusion, because if you are ill, you need to be isolated for 5 days, but you'd be excluded from the workplace for 10 days. And I don't know that there's a way we can work around that. It is, given the regulatory constraints of Cal OSHA where we're at. I was holding off on rewriting my health officer's order, anticipating that we would get guidance from the CDPH on schools. That is still pending as of right now. But what we did, or what I did for the health officer order, was just do a shortened modified quarantine, and also included extracurricular activities and permissive activities under that modified quarantine. So kids at this point can go to school, can go to co-curriculars like FFA, and then can participate in extracurricular events that are beneficial for them. However, it does preclude them from attending community events where there might be ample opportunity for them to spread if they become symptomatic, or being like a spectator in extracurricular activities. There are updated definitions on mega events. Again, that may now reach down to us because it goes down to 500 people or more indoors. So we'll put more on that through our social media. But again, probably won't impact most of the events that we have here in the county of Tuolumne. So wrapping up is vaccines. Again, we're seeing that vaccines, especially with a booster, continue to offer that level of protection. Booster shots are now available and recommended for anyone over 16. The FDA has gone ahead and amended the emergency use authorization for the Pfizer vaccine to allow for children 12 to 15 to get it. That is pending review by the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices of the CDC. And when we do recommend a booster, we're recommending a Pfizer or a Moderna vaccine, or specifically an mRNA vaccine, over the Johnson & Johnson, because that has proven to be a better response to the virus overall. As always, make your appointment through myturn.ca.gov. Next. And that is it, pending your questions.
Okay. So I'm going to open it up to the board for discussion. I think I'll start with Supervisor Goldenberg.
And thanks for the update, Dr. Surjenko. Yeah, the Omicron is concerning, just, due to the rapid growth. Having seen 126 cases over the last 4 days, that's an indicator. We may well see more, or maybe not, but, just based on past experience over the holidays, I think potentially we will see more. When you indicated that it might take 5 to 10% more in cases to perhaps put us into a surge condition, I think everybody understands that, once a hospital system, if they get maxed out on their available beds, that leads to, perhaps not the best ability to take care of new patients that come in with non-COVID emergency issues and having to transfer patients out. So, again, mainly commenting, but, just, I guess I would ask that, because we won't get a formal report, again, until next month. But if we see these conditions changing, that, you communicate that to the board so that we're aware, of what's taking place there. Couple of quick questions. Turnaround time on the state testing site. I haven't heard any recent information how they're, I know, during the holidays and the storms, there was some issues, obviously, but just we rely a lot on some of the testing results. So maybe you can update.
Yes, we're still seeing the majority of results being reported in under 48 hours. And that's been consistent, even with the holiday and the weather. The question is whether we will see a delay like we saw in September with the Delta wave, where we saw results being pushed out to 72 or even 96 hours. We have not seen that yet, but we continue to track that. So again, that remains as an option for testing if you can't get access to an antigen test.
Yeah, and understanding, because I know in the past myself and getting tested that, sometimes it did extend out 4 or even, up to 5 days.
Yeah, and as mentioned, we saw that with the beginning of the Delta wave, or the middle of the Delta wave, where a lot of people were testing, and that would be a concern coming forward if we see us, we'll continue to monitor that. If we see that, we'll communicate that to the board.
Okay, good. The other one was regarding the free in-home testing kits. It's been, on the national news a lot. Haven't seen much, from California. I know that we had some number of kits that were coming in, and they're being kind of reserved for certain areas, but do we anticipate that that might be a way that more people could?
Yeah, just before coming up to do our presentation, I had just received an email from our regional disaster medical health specialist on unfulfilled orders. I think is probably the best way of describing it. Is we had our initial order delivered, a very small number distributed to the at-risk populations. Michelle probably knows more details about the population that we identified, but really those who are at risk more so than the general public. It is hopeful that when we do get the remainder of our orders, that we'll be able to more broadly distribute it. But right now, that's just a hope. That's a back order from the 21st of December when we were supposed to get more. We're supposed to get more this week. All of those things have been back ordered, and again, that's not just us in Tuolumne. That's both statewide and national, that because of the increased demand for antigen testing and the unanticipated demand for that the market needs to catch up to that.
Yeah, and in some cases, right, it's, people just want to know, and they, rightfully so, and, to protect others. And in other cases, when people are traveling, having that ability, facilitates, then as we start to, try to, return to, right now, travel issues, are out there a lot. But, yeah, okay, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll also mention that the Tuolumne County Superintendent of Schools Office received a good number of tests, and they are providing those to families. They provided them over the holiday weekend so that they could test before they came back from the holidays, and I believe they still have quite a few more available. So if you have children in school or grandchildren in school, I would reach out to your school to see and pick some up there.
Yeah, very good. And, you know, with the children going back to school, that becomes real important. So, great, thanks.
Supervisor Campbell? Supervisor Haff?
Yeah, thank you for your presentation today, both of you. And I just have one question, and chances are my compatriots up here have also experienced the same thing. I've gotten quite a few calls over the last month or two from parents kind of freaked out about what may be happening in the schools. And so this question, even though the Board of Supervisors is not over the school system, this question is for them. How can parents, can't read my writing, voice their concerns to CDPH before the guidelines are released? Do you have any suggestions of who they can talk to, where they can write to voice their concerns?
So, as we've mentioned before, you can always reach out to your assemblyman, your senator, your elected officials at the state level. And then certainly, as I've mentioned to some of the school boards, is that you can also email directly to Dr. Aragon, who's the state health officer, the director of the California Department of Public Health. And so those are options that are available for anybody, not just parents, but anyone who has concerns about guidance that's being developed at the state level, regardless whether it's public health or some other regulatory process. But in specific for the public health is to Dr. Aragon and then to the governor's office as well. I know that a number of school boards have done that, expressing their concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Brandon?
No comments.
Okay. All right, well, couple comments, one question, and then open it up for public comment. Comments are, I agree, cold, flu, people being sick. I've seen it firsthand. If you're sick, you gotta stay home. Thank you for reminding us. I am hopeful though, looking at the data and looking at other countries and other areas, that this is gonna go, it looks like it's gonna move pretty quick. Like you said, the surge or the peak will probably be next week. So hopefully, as we continue, looking back from the beginning of this, we continue to see those bumps get smaller and smaller. So hopefully we're entering that stage that you had mentioned months ago. So I am hopeful for the future. I know people are burnt out working at the hospital dealing with this, so I'm hopeful for them. My only question is, Dr. Surjenko, and Supervisor Haff kind of talked about it a little bit with the schools. You said there were some updates for the schools. Has that already been relayed to the school boards? Because I know there's a lot of confusion as far as what we're doing, maybe what some other jurisdictions are doing now. I mean, even as we have it presented to us, there's still like, it's not very clear. So all I'm asking is it being communicated? Are they well aware of the changes, and are they having their questions answered?
So our main venue of working with the school districts is through the Tuolumne County Superintendent of Schools, Kathy Parker, and then we meet with the superintendents on a weekly basis, and then they can take that back to the school boards as their staff. Okay. And then I have met with some of the school boards upon their request. So certainly if there are questions or comments that a school board member would like to take directly to public health, they can either do it through their superintendent. Again, we meet with the superintendents on a weekly basis, or if they want to just reach out to us directly, there's no reason they can't do that. Okay. But I do agree at this point, especially with sort of that period between Christmas and today, there's been lots of moving parts. Where I'm even saying, okay, what's happening with the K through 12 guidance versus the isolation and quarantine guidance. The parts in motion right now for the school guidance is, how significantly will it be changed? There may be a decision at the federal level to sort of optimize attendance in school through testing. So a test to stay policy rather than a quarantine policy or a modified quarantine policy. How that will play out, I don't know, because I think one of the things is Supervisor Goldenberg alluded to is there aren't as many tests out there as we would need to do at this point in time to truly implement a test to stay policy versus a modified quarantine versus quarantine. But I think, as I put it in the health officer's order that was released this morning, you know, shortening the quarantine, the exclusion from, and not even excluding from school, if it's a mask on mask contact in the school, to 5 days rather than 7 days in a test out. That increases the opportunities for kids to stay in school. I think mask wear in the school remains important for reducing transmission. I think we've got really good science to support that. The question is how can we modify or how can we reduce quarantine even more to optimize attendance at school without incurring too much risk? And it's that, you know, policy playing out with science that we talk about all the time.
And just because you brought it up, because we're talking about there being not enough supplies to do testing, has there been any discussion about only testing those with symptoms versus non in the schools?
So what we do know that if we stop testing people that are asymptomatic is we will miss cases that are potentially transmitting in the school setting or in any setting for that matter. So testing early in the quarantine period and testing towards the end of the quarantine period reduces the risk of transmission. And that science goes back to when we actually modified the quarantine from the 14 days down to the 10 or the 7 days plus testing. So really a reasonable good body of science looking at testing and getting out of quarantine. Where you're seeing verbiage about that is again around if you don't have the resources, what's the risk you're incurring by not testing?
All right, thank you for your time. I'm going to open it up to public comment. Anybody in the room?
Concerned about the numbers that came out yesterday, because it's across the board. So there were 17 positive cases under the age of 17, 18 over the age of 60, including people in their 80s and their 90s. From 18 to 29, there were 18. In their 30s, there were 25. In their 40s, there were 21. In their 50s, there were 25. So this is like across the board. And since July 22nd, there's been a recommendation to wear masks regardless of vaccination status in indoor places. And your mask has to cover your nose and your mouth. And I'm not seeing that in Tuolumne County. I'm seeing everyone running around without a mask. I was horrified. I went to Christmas Mass, and half the people in there were all crowded together. Nobody had a mask on. You go to the grocery store, the employees aren't wearing a mask. And then in December, there was that new update that said, everybody please wear a mask between now and January to eliminate a surge. And they did it for like 2 days, and now nobody's wearing a mask. The employees aren't wearing a mask. The customers aren't wearing a mask. So regardless of how some of you think I shouldn't be fearful, I'm very fearful. I don't want to get the coronavirus. And I go every Wednesday and get tested. I've worn 2 masks now for over a year. I should be able to come into this room and not be exposed to people's cooties, but yet I am. And I don't get my test results till Saturday. And that's been pretty consistent for the past several months. And then someone who's a business owner does their own testing. So she said she could buy the self-testing kits for about $7 a piece at a bulk rate. So she uses that in her business. So all those people who buy the bulk rate tests and tests on their own, they're not being reported to you. So we don't really have an assessment of what our cases are. And in my experience from what I've heard in some of the schools is they lie. And people are going to school and work with symptoms. And I really want to applaud you, and I really want to applaud Kathy Parker, because I don't think we've had a better leader in our county in dealing with this. And she made sure that the school districts had vaccines way before a lot of other people did. And I appreciate that Dr. Surjenko jumped on what has always been my favorite board in all of Tuolumne County. Anyway, we either need a better message, we need some more astute leadership. I don't know what we need, but it's frustrating to see my community behave so irresponsibly when, get a vaccine, don't get a vaccine, but wear a mask.
Okay. Is there any more public comment in the room? All right, there's nobody on Zoom, so Dr. Surjenko. Oh. Okay, we got somebody on Zoom. Is she ready?
I just wanted to agree. I think.
Hello, you're on with the board. Go ahead.
Yes, as I say, I just wanted to agree. I think that the county has been extraordinarily remiss in its address of the pandemic. I agree.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. Anybody else? Okay. All right. Well, this was a presentation, so thank you guys for your time and for being here today. And have a wonderful new year.
All right. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Board.
All right. We're going to jump back to items 14 through 18, and then after that, we'll take a break. So, or I'm sorry, 14 we did. So we're going to
15?
do 15.
Item number 15, presentation of the chair's appointments to the Board of Supervisors, committees, and commissions for 2022.
Okay, so every year as we come together at the beginning, we reassess our committees and commissions and what we sit on. And this was quite the fun task. I think I started about a month ago and up until the 11th hour last night, still making a few changes. So before I open it up to the board, I did, Clerk Ryan, I did want to share with you two changes. They're just administrative. And that is, I want to make sure these are corrected before we vote on it. Under the Airports Advisory Committee, Brandon would be the chair and half would be the alternate. Yeah, instead of him just being a member, he'll be the chair. And then under Motherload Job Training, remove Supervisor Brandon as the alternate. We had two alternates on there, so we're going to remove him as the alternate. The alternate will be myself, and the member will be Campbell. So those were the two administrative changes I just want to make before we move forward with it. So I will open it up to discussion. But before I do so, I just want the public to know that we took a survey. We try and balance this out as far as members and chairs and alternates, and what board members are interested in. And really, at the end of the day, we all get a little bit of what we want. We all get a little bit of what we need to do to serve the community. And we also, it's a balancing act as far as scheduling goes. So this is how I arrived to where I am, and I'm going to open it up to the board for any comment or for a motion.
Public comment?
Yeah. No comment?
I'll make a motion that we approve, but I think we'd probably do public comment and then.
Oh, yes. Supervisor Brandon, did you raise his hand? Okay. Supervisor Brandon, go ahead.
Yeah, are we doing public comment or are we going into discussion?
We'll do discussion, then we'll do public comment.
Okay. Well, first I want to say I appreciate all the work because I know you got to not only that, but balance the scheduling of all these different meetings and compare that to all of our normal schedules, and that's not easy. Overall, I'm really happy with them. There was one in particular I wanted to bring up to the board, though, that I don't feel would necessarily be appropriate. It's the Southwest Interface team. We have a number of, natural resource committee. We have the Fire Safety Advisory Committee. We have YSS. SWIFT kind of falls inside of that sphere. And I'm not on any of those county level or state and federal level decision-making bodies. Ag, Environment, Natural Resources Committee, for example, RCRC. And so on the SWIFT team, I wanted to put that out that if a member of YSS, member of the Natural Resources Committee, or the Fire Safety Advisory Committee wanted to take that over, I think you'll probably have much more effective information in that group. Otherwise, most of those groups already have 2 supervisors on it. I'll be very limited in what I'll, information be able to provide that's new.
So are you proposing a fix other than maybe not being on it?
Yeah, I would like to not be on that particular one. I know that there's scheduling conflicts, and I know that there's at least 3 or 4 different groups that could be kind of related to. So if anybody was interested in working with that group, it's U.S. Forest Service and kind of shared stakeholders, obviously working in the WUI land. I would greatly appreciate that, but I don't think I'll be a good fit for that committee.
Okay, does any other board member have comments?
I remember that I had a scheduling conflict, I think, with that one in particular. I think that might have been why. Yeah.
Yeah, specifically this one, I did look at placing other members on it, but some members are very heavy, including half, and it really comes down to a balancing act with scheduling. I think if we could all pick and choose what would all lump together and go together, we would, but at the end of the day, sometimes just the scheduling doesn't work out. So I kind of had to go by priorities as far as where we could be most effective in the areas of influence that we have. And SWIFT is absolutely important. And it's not to say that at all, but it really comes down to a scheduling conflict.
So I'll
Sure.
speak to it briefly. I have no idea about conflicts, because I'm not sure of the meeting dates. I would be willing to, take on SWIFT, provided there wasn't an additional, conflict that prohibited me. It's in line with my concentration of where I'm working on fire issues. So just not sure, how that'll shake out.
Okay. Any other comments?
Supervisor Kirk.
Yes.
Dave's willing to do that. Thank you.
I did just get a text from Dory stating that they are planning to change the date and time for the SWIFT meeting. She didn't tell me when, but I did ask her to come in.
Yeah, I will be the staff support for SWIFT, and we are in the process right now of changing that meeting time because it does conflict. So happy to work it around the Supervisor Goldenberg's schedule to make sure. So.
Okay, well then I'm hearing a solution to a problem. So David, thank you for that, and Dory for that. So I would update board clerk to have David as the SWIFT member, and I will remain as the alternate. And feel free to call upon me if you need, because you're taking on another one, so I appreciate that, Dave. And I'll do everything in my power to assist if there's any sort of conflict. Okay.
I do have one administrative comment, and that is the Natural Resources Committee, I think is going to experience some kind of a date and time change as far as when those meetings occur. So even though that information is not on this sheet, it's on the spreadsheet. So that will be changing to accommodate schedules. Thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Brandon?
Great, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had one other that I wanted to bring up. So I've served for a little less than a year on the Commission on Homelessness, and some of the requests that I made for what to serve on this year was based on that experience. In particular, you can see through my appointments there, I'm serving on the CSAC HHSA committee, serving on ATCA, which is a huge partner in addressing homelessness. I'm continuing to serve on behavioral health again as well. And all of that, I think, would be very effective in being able to help on the Commission on Homelessness. I think it was in asking, for example, to be on ATCA in particular, that was partly to make sure that it can help support the Commission on Homelessness's mission. We had before members on there that weren't on ATCA. I was that, and it was a challenge. Now I'm on ATCA, but not on the Commission on Homelessness. So my request would be to add myself. I do think that as far as it goes countywide, the city of Sonora and Supervisor Goldenberg's district and I, between Jamestown and Sonora, have the greatest issues, and between Jamestown, Sonora, and Columbia, the greatest concentration of services. Obviously, the city's been a huge partner in these past efforts. And so I would like to be able to continue being on the Commission on Homelessness for the upcoming year. I think it just synergizes very well with the rest of what I have, and I don't have a scheduling conflict.
Okay. So the reason why I placed David, well, first of all, Supervisor Half is diligently working on a navigation center, which is going to take quite a bit of time. So I don't want to disrupt some of the progress that's going on in that area as far as the homeless discussion. When it comes to Supervisor Goldenberg's district, it does fall within the city of Sonora, which is doesn't necessarily mean it's all his issue alone. This is a board issue, but it does fall primarily under his jurisdiction. So that was another reason why I went there. And I also tried to spread the love out a little bit as far as getting as many eyes on the homeless issue as possible, which is why I put you on ACCA. Is David on ACCA as well? I'm looking at. And then really, Brennan, because you reached out to me and you had mentioned that you did want to be removed from the Homeless Commission a few weeks ago. So that's why I made the decision.
I didn't state that I wanted to be removed from the Homeless Commission.
Yes, you did. So
no, I did not.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, just to be clear on that, what I had stated is I wanted to focus on housing issues, and I was willing to potentially, not have that as a commission. We were talking about what was absolutely wanted to be on and what was willing, but I was also talking about many of the other social service committees, which I have ended up being on, that are pretty synergetic.
So to my point, you reached out to me and said that you were open to other supervisors sitting on the homeless committee to have different perspectives and views and input. So I did that. I followed through with that, and I spread the committees out so we have as many board opinions on different committees that touch that issue alone. So that's why I reached the decision I did. You have every right to request to be moved off it, but I stand in my current recommendation, which is to leave the committee as is.
So I would like to make a motion then to substitute my position for Supervisor Half's position. I know that she has been very diligent and dedicated in working on the navigation center. I think that work can absolutely continue. It is going to take maybe not several years, but it is going to take an extended commitment. I too have ongoing projects within that commission as well. And it would be very disruptive to some of the, I think, 3 groups right now that I'm working with related to that. So with that, I would like to make the motion to substitute my position as a voting member on the Tuolumne County Commission on Homelessness and to have Supervisor Half removed. And it's with all best intentions in that, but it's only because I think it just really makes the most sense. And I think it absolutely will continue everything that she's been working on as well.
Okay, so I have a motion by Supervisor Brandon to remove Half from the Commission on Homelessness and in turn place him on it. Do I have a second or a counter proposal?
Just in understanding Supervisor Brandon's concerns, ATCA does play an important part in this, and it might be more practicable to have Supervisor Half on ATCA with myself if that's how it, shook out, based on the interactions that take place in many areas, and including with the city of Sonora. But I don't think that becomes a part of this motion. It's just throwing out that comment.
Just a comment, I want to make it clear that I'd like to stay on the Homelessness Commission.
And, yeah, I don't have much to add. I mean, there is a certain level of, the chair makes the committee assignments, and I know, I think our chair has made an effort to communicate with all of us, and having been in the same position in the past, it's not always, you do try to give everybody the committees that they want, but the scheduling is difficult, and we do try to move people around to give an opportunity to have different voices and different perspectives on some of these committees. So I'm also in favor of keeping the committees as they are with the previous changes.
Then I rescind it.
Okay. All right, well, thank you for that.
So I'll make a motion to approve the board committee assignments for 2022 with the changes mentioned for SWIFT, for motherload job training, and for, what was the third one? For airports.
And SWIFT. Did you already say SWIFT?
Yeah, I said SWIFT. So with those three changes.
I'll second that.
All right, we'll do roll call. Public comment. I'm sorry. Thank you. Public comment. See, I'm learning. Sorry, Carol. Got to put a big sticker, public comment.
Well, thank you for the big piece of paper. This is really easy to read. So I'm concerned why Kathleen Half has 18 memberships, because that's a lot.
Right.
So
It's
that's going
RCRC.
to take a lot of your time. And it is the prerogative of the board chair to make committee assignments. And you do rotate people around, and not everybody's happy. But I will support you on that because you are the board chair.
I can answer that. A lot of those committees are
Don't meet
related
all the
to
time.
RCRC.
Oh, okay.
And since I'm the RCRC representative, I get all of those. So, and it's the same as last year. I was pretty heavy last year too.
Okay. Well, I'm noticing. And then I was wondering on the Water Policy Committee, how come you don't have a chair? Does someone different chair that than because usually your policy committees, one of the supervisors is a chair. But apparently not on your Water Policy Committee.
Which one's that under?
We haven't done something formal, but I've been sharing it for this past year.
Okay. Because I know I was at the meeting when you did
But
share.
as it's written, there was not a share process.
Okay.
There wasn't one last year as well. Okay, we'll check the bylaws on that and see if there needs to be a chair or member, but we'll leave as is, but maybe that we could check the bylaws on it. Okay, so now, is there anybody else for public comment? We'll bring it back to the board. There was a motion by Supervisor Campbell, second by Half, so we'll do roll call.
Supervisor Goldenberg,
Aye.
Supervisor Campbell,
Aye.
Supervisor Kirk,
Aye.
Supervisor Half,
Aye.
and Supervisor Brandon.
Aye.
Thank you. Sorry, I must have cut you off there.
Okay. Thank you for that. Now we're going to move on to item 16.
Item number 16, designation of the 2022 Rural County Representatives of California, RCRC Board of Directors Delegate and Alternate.
Okay. So as we just voted on the committees and commissions, obviously Supervisor Half is who I'm recommending as a delegate. And then I believe I was going to be the alternate, just since I'm sitting on chair and dealing with some issues that also touch RCRC this year. Go ahead. Do I have Ryan as alternate? Was this changed last night? I'm sorry. Thank you for that. Thinking of NACO. So I was going to appoint Supervisor Half as the delegate and Campbell, thank you for clarifying that, as the alternate. So I will open it up for any board discussion.
Yeah, I think it was at the request of RCRC too that we pick one person and then one alternate.
Yeah.
I remember last year there was because you have to do the form where you have to do all the accounting, and so every single one of us would have to do that form.
Right.
If we were appointing multiple people, and so I think it was just for simplicity. But any board member can attend RCRC events and participate in RCRC, and in fact, I hope we all do because it's a really valuable group. So it's more a formality than anything, I think. But except Supervisor Half, who's had some great leadership on RCRC. I just mean the alternate is more of a formality.
Yeah. Any other comment? Open up to public comment. Okay, and I'll bring it back to the board. Thank you for clarifying that. And I didn't really do a good introduction. Half has been sitting on RCRC the last year. She's really made a lot of connections. A lot of what we do up here is really meeting people, building those relationships, and then being effective through those relationships and getting things done. So for RCRC specifically and some CSAC stuff, which isn't part of this, that was kind of the reasoning behind. We just want to keep facilitating that movement. So with that being said, we will do a roll call for Half as the delegate and Campbell as the alternate. We did do public comment. Yeah. So did we put forth a motion?
Did we need a motion on that?
Do we need a motion?
I will move we approve the appointments
And
as
I second.
written.
All right, so first by Ryan, second by Supervisor Goldenberg. And we'll do roll call.
Thank you. Supervisor Goldenberg?
Aye.
Supervisor Campbell?
Aye.
Supervisor Kirk?
Aye.
Supervisor Half?
Aye.
Supervisor Brandon?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Motion,
Thank you.
thank you. Motion passes 5-0. Okay, we will move on to, we can do 17 and 18 together. Great. You want to read 17 and 18 together?
Okay, item number 17, designation of the 2022 Golden State Finance Authority, GSFA, Board of Directors Delegate and Alternate. Item number 18, designation of the 2022 Golden State Connect Authority, GSCA, Board of Directors Delegate and Alternate.
Okay, so these items follow in line with RCRC, as Supervisor Campbell stated, to keep things streamlined and simple. So the recommendation for both 17 and 18 is to have Half as the delegate and the alternate Supervisor Campbell. So open up to board comment if board has any. No? Okay. And opening it up to public comment. No public comment. All right. Bring it back to the board for a motion.
I move we approve the appointments.
I'll second that.
All right, first by Campbell, second by Half. We'll do a roll call.
Supervisor Goldenberg?
Aye.
Supervisor Campbell?
Aye.
Supervisor Kirk?
Aye.
Supervisor Half?
Aye.
Supervisor Brandon?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Motion for 17-18 passes 5-0. All right, I was going to take let's do a 10-minute break. Return at 10:35.
Okay, now you have.
And good news, during the break, I found out that my family grew. My sheep had 2 baby lambs. So my kids were there for the delivery. They sent me photos and videos. So the Kirk farm just got bigger. All right, let's do consent calendar.
Okay. Item number 1, approving the minutes of the December 21, 2021 meeting. Item number 2, approving amendment number 2 to the agreement with Ascent Environmental, Inc. for preparation of a climate action plan for an additional amount of $41,380 for a total amount not to exceed $224,248. Item number 3, adopting resolution 1-22, continuing the local state of emergency in Tuolumne County due to existing and anticipated damages related to the Washington fire. Number 4, accepting and approving the MOU with the California State Testing Task Force to provide antigen test kits for the J.H. Dombacher Detention Facility for COVID-19 jail staff testing and authorizing the county administrator to sign all MOU-related documents. Item number 5, approving the submission of a revised CDBG CV2 and CV3 grant, Resolution 2-22.
I did that, sorry.
All right, I'm not done yet. Hold on. Item number 6, adopting Resolution 3-22, continuing the proclamation of a local state of emergency due to drought. Item number 7, adopting Resolution 4-22 to apply for and accept an allocation in the amount of $6,400 from the state of California, Department of Housing and Community Development for Transitional Housing Program Services through June 30th, 2024. Recognize unanticipated revenue and increase appropriations in the same amount in the fiscal year 2021-2022 Department of Social Services at the mid-year budget review, and authorize the Health and Human Services Agency Director to sign all related documents. Item number 8, adopting Resolution 5-22 to apply for and accept an allocation in the amount of $6,370 from the California Department of Housing and Community Development for Housing Navigators Program services through June 30th, 2024. Recognize unanticipated revenue and increase appropriations in the same amount in the fiscal year 2021-2022 Department of Social Services at the mid-year budget review, and authorize the Health and Human Services Agency Director to sign all related documents.
All right, it's like a Christmas tree. You just want to push all the buttons up here. Sorry about that. Okay, so before we bring it to the board, I just want to say thank you to staff. I emailed you several questions before this meeting. You answered them, so I'm not going to pull any items. Would any other board member have any questions or like to pull an item?
I'd like to pull item number 2.
Item number 2, okay. Other than item number 2, is there any public comment? All right. So I will move to approve, or actually, I will look for a motion to approve the consent calendar excluding item number 2.
Chair, I'll make a motion to that effect.
So I have a first by Supervisor Campbell, second by Half. We'll do a roll call.
Supervisor Goldenberg?
Aye.
Supervisor Campbell?
Aye.
Supervisor Kirk?
Aye.
Supervisor Half?
Aye.
Supervisor Brandon?
Aye.
All right, carries 5-0, excluding item number 2. Clerk of the board, would you please read item number 2?
Item number 2, approving amendment number 2 to the agreement with Ascent Environmental, Inc. for preparation of a climate action plan for an additional amount of $41,380 for a total amount not to exceed $224,248.
So the reason I asked this for to be pulled is, we've got approximately a 20% increase in the contract cost, and just wanted to get an explanation a little bit further on what drove this. I understand there was additional public comments that, required extra efforts, but when we have a contract such as this, hopefully the contract remains firm, but this is a pretty good increase in costs, so.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Thank you. Quincy Yaley, Community Development Director. I'm happy to give a little bit more information about this item. So this item is to amend a contract with Ascent Environmental. They were selected by the Board of Supervisors to prepare the Climate Action Plan, which is a requirement of our 2018 general plan update. And the Climate Action Plan also addresses a number of new state laws that have been passed with respect to climate analysis, vulnerability assessments, and adaptation from the state. So this contract amendment for, where are we? For approximately $41,000 is to really do a couple of things. One is it's to make the document more readable. As we've gone through this process, I have learned a lot about how the public understands and relates to global warming and climate change, and have found that graphics are a much better way to explain to our constituents what the words mean. And so I've asked for a number of changes in the draft document to help explain what the document's trying to do. The second thing is in addition to learning a lot about climate change, I've learned a lot about how our county engages with climate change, and found that the public workshops that Ascent and their subconsultant, Kearns and West, have been holding have been very successful. And our initial scope did not include any public workshops to present the draft document. It was just assumed that it would go out for a standard review comment period. It would come back and we'd bring it to your board for adoption. It's my request, not theirs, my request that we bring, that we engage with Kearns and West and Ascent to do similar presentations to what we've done in the past at our Natural Resources Committee meeting and at our Planning Committee meeting to help vet that document. And those are the major reasons for the change. I did get a great question of why has the contract sort of crept? The first creep I would say was that we included an optional task, which we should have included in the beginning, should have included that in the overall the task. The second thing is we'd never done a climate action plan before, and so it was really difficult for us to predict the costs.
Okay, and I appreciate that explanation. I'm in favor of the climate action plan. I've seen the work that's been done by Ascent and appreciative of their efforts, and so lessons learned.
Absolutely.
Right? You know, if we move towards similar type, of contracts in the future, that we recognize that there may be increased public participation, and we should build that into the contract so that we don't end up with this, situation of. Anyways, thank you.
You're welcome.
With that, I'm done. Yeah.
Okay. Any other board comment? All right, any public comment? Okay, and I just, again, thank you. I had some of the same questions I asked her, and this is something that's required for us to do as part of the general plan, and I do believe you had mentioned that there might be potential in the future for some grant funding to offset it. So thank you for your concerns and comments. With that being said, I'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the amendment number 2 to the agreement with Ascent Environmental, Inc. for preparation of the climate action plan. Additional amount of $41,380, total not to exceed of $224,248.
I'll second that.
All right, so I have a first by Goldenberg, second by Half, and we'll do a roll call.
Supervisor Goldenberg?
Aye.
Supervisor Campbell?
Aye.
Supervisor Kirk?
Aye.
Supervisor Half?
Aye.
Supervisor Brandon?
Aye.
All right, passes 5-0. Thank you. Okay, we will move on to proclamations and what's that? Oh, number 9. That's easier.
Okay.
Thank you guys for being patient and waiting with us this morning.
Item number 9, consideration of approving a certificate of appreciation for the Tuolumne County Visitors Bureau for assisting the Environmental Health Division with recruitment of employees.
Good morning, Quincy Yaley, Community Development Director. This is the first time I've ever gotten to give a proclamation, so we're on a first today, so I might not do this right, but I'll do my best. So today I'm here to recognize and thank the staff at the Visitors Bureau for their assistance in recruiting in our Environmental Health Division. I'm joined by Lisa Mayo and Monique Holcomb, as well as Brad Banner, our interim Environmental Health Director. And you likely know that we have had a number of recent vacancies in our environmental health division, and historically those positions have been very difficult to recruit for. One of our values in the county is creative problem solving, and our interim director, Brad, exemplifies that trait. On his own, he reached out to the Visitors Bureau for assistance in creating a beautiful and vibrant recruitment flyer that not only advertised the vacant positions, but the fantastic community that we live in here in Tuolumne County. The Visitors Bureau, without question, jumped in to assist us to create, print, and fold 2,000 flyers, which were mailed at the end of last year to registered environmental health specialists across the state of California. We are already seeing the results of this effort with candidates from wide areas of the state reaching out to Brad, inquiring about the position. We also put in there that they would receive an incentive if they posted the recruitment flyer in their job boards. So we have gotten many requests of what is the incentive, and the incentive is a thank you. And so it's been maybe a little disappointing on their end, but we certainly have enjoyed getting pictures of our job recruitment flyers posted in environmental health departments across the state. So I've shared this flyer with other department heads here at the county who have said we would like to follow this example of recruitment, and they all go, "How did you get this done? How did you do this?" And I said, "Brad just asked." And so we're very grateful to the Visitors Bureau for jumping in and helping us bring in staff members to our community, because that benefits all of us. So I'm requesting that the board present this certificate of appreciation to the Visitors Bureau for assisting our environmental health division in recruitment.
Did great. Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, so I'll bring it to the board for any comments.
Yeah, I love creative problem solving. I want to thank Brad for the idea. I've spoken to Lisa, and I just want to thank the Visitors Bureau again for your willingness and partnership. I'd like to see more of this. We've talked about that. So yeah, it's all good. Thank you so much.
All right, I don't see anybody on Zoom. So I will ditto what Half said. Thank you, Brad. I think we should try and figure out a way to keep Brad around. We don't, maybe not hire, but just get him back. And thank you, Visitors Bureau, for, I think this could be played out in many other areas in our departments. And I have traveled the states, and I always wanted to come home and work here. So we just got to let people know what here's all about. So thank you guys for being part of that message. So that being said, I will look for do we need a motion? Yes.
I'll make a motion.
And I'll second. Oh,
Okay,
sorry.
so we have a motion by Half and a second by Campbell. We'll do roll call. Oh, do we do public comment? See, I'm going to get a big sticker that says public comment on my forehead. Public comment. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, look at that.
There you go. I will always remind you also.
Yes, you will.
Isn't Lisa Mayo, or aren't Lisa Mayo and her team just amazing? And to ask them to do something creative, I think, is pretty impressive. And Lisa answers the call all the time. So this is pretty amazing. And I think Brad gets some appreciation by coming here and seeing your board meetings, as opposed to Calaveras County board meetings, which I have also attended.
Great. Thank you. Any more public comment? All right. We had a motion by Supervisor Half, a second by Campbell. And so we'll do roll call.
Okay, Supervisor Goldenberg,
Aye.
Supervisor Campbell,
Aye.
Supervisor Kirk,
Aye.
Supervisor Half,
Aye.
Supervisor Brandon.
Aye.
All right. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you guys very much.
So I'm going to ask them to come up here. We can give them a little round of applause.
Yes.
Well, and are you going to read it, Quincy? Are you going to read the proclamation?
Sure, let's do that.
Yeah, see, we're learning. Okay,
Yep.
so this says Certificate of Appreciation and Recognition of the Tuolumne County Visitors Bureau to the Tuolumne County Community Development Department, and the Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors expresses appreciation for creation and production of the beautifully creative job flyer prepared for the Environmental Health Division that was subsequently mailed to over 2,000 prospective applicants. The work was polished and wonderfully shared, the splendor of our beautiful county. So thank you very much.
You. Good job, guys. Thank you. All right, we will move on to item number 10.
Item number 10, consideration of 1, rejecting the bid submitted by VSS International, Inc. as mathematically unbalanced, and 2, awarding a contract in the amount of $581,043 to Pavement Coatings Co. to perform the work as shown in the plans and bid book for the 2021 Tuolumne County Surface Treatment Project, contract numbers 1740, 1752, and 1753, and authorizing the chair to sign.
Good morning, Board. Blossom Scott Himes, Supervising Engineer with your Public Works Department. With me today is Gary Wilson, an engineer on our team, and of course Kim McFarland, our Director. The 2021 Tuolumne County Surface Treatment Project consists of microsurfacing, asphalt rubber chip seal, and slurry seal treatments to 7 different locations within the county. Multiple locations were included to take advantage of economies of scale in bidding. The project was advertised for bids on November 2nd, 2021. The main project area is 1.25 miles of roadway within the Willow Springs subdivision in Soulsbyville. A demonstration project to install a triple Cape Seal surface treatment on Willow Springs Drive is proposed. Demonstration projects are intended to demonstrate and promote innovative technologies and practices that are proven but may not be widely used. We hope that this method of pavement preservation could be used on low volume and local roads in the future as a lower cost alternative to reconstruction. This component is Project 1753, Willow Springs Drive Surface Treatment. The Public Works Department, in addition to our regular duties, administers road maintenance services within county service areas. CSA road maintenance is funded by special district property tax assessments on the parcels within the CSAs. Several of the CSAs are currently scheduled for maintenance, microsurfacing to prolong the pavement life in those CSAs. This component is Project 1740. And finally, the Mock Fire burned near the community of Moccasin. Firefighting efforts contained the fire along Priest Coulterville Road, but the equipment damaged approximately a 100-foot length of Priest Coulterville Road. FEMA and Cal OES approved the application of a microsurfacing treatment on that length of road. And as it's disaster recovery work, will together reimburse 93.75% of the construction cost. This component is Project 1752. The bid provided separate bid schedules for each project to separate the cost to allow for accurate accounting and to allow the county more flexibility during award. The lowest bid was determined by the combined value of all 3 bid schedules. However, the county retained the right to award any or all of the 3 projects, depending on the availability of funds. Bids were opened on November 18th, and we received 3 bids. The engineer's estimate for the project was $447,327. Using Federal Highway Administration guidelines for competitive bidding, a bid analysis was performed. The apparent low bidder, VSS International, submitted an unbalanced bid. Bids are mathematically unbalanced when the unit costs do not reasonably reflect the actual cost to construct the item. For VSS's bid, the unit cost for asphalt rubber chip seal and pre-coated aggregate in contract 1740 are 1,875% and 3,200% of the engineer's estimate, respectively. Unbalanced bids may be disqualified at the discretion of the county. VSS put all of their overhead and profit in the 1740 bid because they mistakenly believed that it was a base bid with the others as alternates. Because of this, the bid prices for the CSA work were overly inflated. Awarding to VSS would put an undue hardship on the CSAs, as the bid prices would cause the work to exceed their budgets. If we only were to award the second and third bid schedules, projects 1752 and 1753 to VSS, they would have declined the contract because, as I said, they had put all their overhead in the base bid. There were some other irregularities in the bid, as outlined in your memo. However, there was nothing significant. County Council has reviewed the bids submitted and concurs with staff's recommendation that the VSS bid is mathematically unbalanced, and staff is recommending disqualifying it. The bid submitted by the second lowest bidder, Pavement Coatings Company, is in substantial compliance with our call for bids. The memo from County Council is in your packet. Awarding to Pavement Coatings Company is within the budgets for all three projects. It's recommended that your board, one, reject the bids submitted by VSS International as mathematically unbalanced, and two, award a contract in the amount of $581,043 to Pavement Coatings Co. to perform the work as shown in the plans and bid book for the 2021 Tuolumne County Surface Treatment Project, contract number 1740, 1752, and 1753, and authorize the chair to sign. What questions can we answer?
All right, I believe Supervisor Campbell has a question or comment.
I think, well, first of all, thank you very much, Blossom. Wonderful job and great job to everybody over at Public Works. The only real question I had was, I think he explained it really well with respect to the rejecting the lowest bid. Typically we would want to take the lowest bid, but there were some issues with how the bid was arranged, and we have very high standards here at the county, and we want to follow them and make sure that we get the best work possible. And I think you did that. And also, just really grateful to to all the contractors that did submit bids. I think we have some really experienced people that bid, and I think the one that we ended up with is, having done a little research after I read the names, I think it's a really good team that we have working on there. I also just wanted to highlight the fact that, Willis, the residents of Willis Springs and kind of the surrounding area submitted a petition to me and to Public Works with over 400 signatures back last year, and you got them right there. And just really want to thank the residents of that community for being part of the solution. This one street is certainly not unique in that, we have many, many other streets that need to be repaired in a similar way. But the hope is that with this pilot project, that it will be successful and that we'll learn a new process that we can then apply to other streets in the county. And this is a particularly good candidate because it's a relatively flat, Tuolumne County flat, as we say, street that we can test this out, see how it works, and hopefully apply it to streets throughout the county. And then and also grateful to Public Works, of course, and then also to this board, which I think really we've been listening to the community. I mean, this is what we hear about day in and day out, and I think this board has really shown support for coming up with new ideas, pushing and making some of these things happen. So I'm just really gratified and proud to see that we're actually making some headway on some of these things. So anyway, that was all I had to say.
So I'd just like to echo Supervisor Campbell's comments. Just overall, once again, Public Works has shown that, you've demonstrated the ability to ensure that all projects are managed in a legal and professional manner. And, just as expressed, it doesn't always, not always the low cost bid, but, these things do tend to get complicated if we're not careful. So, and I'm really looking forward to see the results of the process, not only flat, but I think it's a really good choice because kind of that mid-elevation level between, you know, the low country really hot and higher country that might have more snow and cold. Really excited to see, and I realize it might take a couple, 3 years, I understand, before we see how well this holds up, but there could be substantial savings on other projects throughout the county. So, yeah, good deal. Thank you.
Thank you. We're very excited to see how it performs as well.
Yeah.
Comment?
Just a quick thank you for your willingness to try something new. Stick your neck out a little bit and see if it works. And I applaud that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Supervisor Brandon, do you have any comments?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any public comment? Got my reminder.
I just hope that people go on the new road and drive safely. And if we get some of our roads fixed, that will be another incentive for people to drive carefully. And we really need to look at our roads and our driving. So I applaud you for that. And we've already talked about an issue that I'm concerned about that's on the planning list. So if anybody out there has money they want to send to the county so we can get some of these other places fixed, that would be really great.
Thank you.
All right. I'm sorry, what was the new engineer's name?
Gary Wilson.
Gary? Awesome. Gary, welcome. I think it's the first time I've met you, so welcome to Tuolumne County, and I hope you enjoy your stay. Hopefully it's a long one. I just want to, thank you, Blossom and team, for coming to me a year ago and saying, where should we put this new project? And I thought, well, I really want to put it in my district, but we'll put it in Supervisor Campbell's district. I'm just
Maybe next time.
Maybe next time. So I'm just trying to grease the wheel for if there's any future projects. But thank you guys. I'm looking forward to it. I think it is a good spot. Like you said, it's a flat spot. And I also really love that little spot, that little speedometer that you guys put in that area, because I used to live in that community, don't want to tell you what I want to do, people who go flying through there. So I think it's a good little project to start off there. So with that being said, I will bring it back to the board and look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that we reject the bid submitted by VSS International Incorporated as mathematically imbalanced, and we award the contract in the amount of $581,043 to Pavement Coatings Company to perform the work as shown in the plans and bid book for the 2021 County Surface Treatment Project, contact number 1740, 1752, and 1753, and authorize the chair to sign.
I'll second.
All right. So I have a motion by Supervisor Campbell, a second by Supervisor Goldenberg. We'll do roll call.
Supervisor Goldenberg,
Aye.
Supervisor Campbell,
Aye.
Supervisor Kirk,
Aye.
Supervisor Haff,
Aye.
Supervisor Brandon.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 5-0. Thank you guys and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
All right, item 11. Do you guys need a minute? Okay.
Item number 11, update on the impacts of the recent storm and consideration of increasing appropriations in the Public Works budget by $50,000 with a corresponding decrease in contingencies for emergency tree removal. 4/5 vote required.
All right. Good morning. Kim McFarland, Director of Public Works, and with me is Blossom Scott Heim, Supervising Engineer, sitting in for Mike Kenyeti, our Road Superintendent, who unfortunately couldn't be here today. I'm going to show a few photos. I thought it'd be more interesting rather than just reading the memo. So some of these photos are from what happened over the last week or week and a half. So between Christmas and the 29th, the county received an extraordinary amount of snow, actually precipitation that at times fell as snow in places as low as Columbia and Sonora. As of December 28th, over 200 inches fell in the Central Sierra, breaking the previous December record of 179 inches set in 1970, which is over 16 feet. During this past storm, our waste management partners also struggled. With utility lines and trees down and slick roads, the trucks were not able to conduct normal services. And in at least one case, Waste Management assisted a resident who had fallen in their driveway collecting their bins, requiring emergency personnel to attend, and we want to thank them for that. Our airports were also affected, with Pine Mountain Lake Airport receiving about 5 inches, requiring plowing of the taxiway and runway, and Columbia about 2 inches, again also requiring plowing. But our roads were most affected. So with the currently available resources, road operations personnel can adequately handle most snowstorms above 4,000 feet elevation, provided that downed trees and flooding are not a problem. And as we know, fallen trees were in fact a problem, as was localized flooding, a lot of precipitation before the storm hit. With the low snow levels and the other issues with the fallen trees, snow removal service can be less than adequate. This is actually a photo from 108, not our county roads. But we just thought it'd be interesting to note that in 2004, the East Crew, which is mostly in Supervisor Kirk's district, we had 4 plow operators in the high country, 4 plows to cover the Long Barn to Sugar Pine area, and a few pickup plows to cover below Sugar Pine. That was 11 road workers plus the supervisor. Now we're operating at 6 road workers in this district with 1 supervisor. So that's basically a 45% reduction in staff. Again, 108. During snow removal operations, the county plows snow and pushes it to the back of the shoulders in preparation for additional snowstorms. We need to ensure that there's adequate space on the road shoulder for new snow. Unfortunately, though, that does create quite a problem with berms and driveways, and we just want to remind everybody that we have to do this. It's called crowding, and we have to make space for future snow, and we don't intentionally put berms in people's driveways. We did have at least one case where someone interfered with plow operations, trying to deter our plow operator from plowing a county road, and we'd just like to remind them you can't do that. So. By the way, the snow removal policy is available on the Tuolumne County website. We have sent it out to various social media sites, but just as a reminder, I'm reading pretty much from the snow removal policy if anyone has any questions. This is a photo that was taken a couple of winters ago, but we thought it actually showed, it was a good example of what happens. This is a Miwok. This can really make plowing tough when there's obstacles such as parked vehicles. Parking restrictions on county right-of-way during snow removal season are strictly enforced. And as per our snow removal policy, the county is not responsible for damage that is done to vehicles during snow removal operations. This photo was taken at night on Middle Camp Road. You can see the snags on the power lines. During a storm, main roads and school bus routes have priority over other roads. The plow operators start at the beginning of their assigned area and plow until they reach the end of that, and then start back at the beginning. So some roads actually will require up to 4 passes, depending on how much snow has fallen. Generally, it's 2 passes each lane. So unfortunately, complete clearing of local roads is often the last priority. Down trees can often be cleared by our road workers, but this does slow the process, and trees snagged on power lines, such as this photo, are left in place for the utility. So PG&E, whoever it is that has them, we do not assess which line that is, and we have to leave it for the utility workers. So the other thing we want to remind folks, by the way, these photos all were taken by road workers. This one in particular is by Jason Parkinson. They do a great job of getting out of the vehicles and safely taking photos. We want to remind everyone about the snow removal mileage by elevation. I know that Supervisor Kirk and I think Supervisor Campbell may have talked about it during some of their town halls. But at 5,000 and above, we have only 56 lane miles, and each lane mile requires a couple of passes. Once you start getting snow down to the 4,000, 5,000 elevation, we have 212 miles. By the time it gets down to Sonora and Columbia, we have 756 miles of snow removal. And just as a reminder, our snow plows can only do about 12 miles per hour. So this is a photo taken in Twainhart, and you can see how tight some of these roads are and how imperative it is to push the snow back, what they call the crowding. Just in order to make room for future snowfall. We also have we had chain requirements up above on the county roads, I believe at Twainhart in some locations. We did not have an R3, and if anyone wants to know the difference between R1, R2, and R3, they are in their snow removal policy, but R3 means that all vehicles must be wearing chains, regardless of four-wheel status. This photo is taken on Confidence Road. Although most, if not all, the county-maintained roads have now been cleared, we thought that it would be a good idea to have a contingency in place for our next storm, which will assist with response time, especially if the road crews have exceeded allowable work shift hours, and we were pushing it in a few cases. And there are no power lines involved. So a lot of times when trees, like I said, fall on power lines, we can't do anything about it regardless of the emergency. During the height of the storm, and I think it might have been the day after Christmas, we had our folks that some of them had been out for 19 hours and they were at home sleeping, and we had calls for downed trees. So we thought that by having a plan in place for the future storm, we'll be able to address it better. This is a photo of Cedar Ridge. Yes, so like I said, with a plan in place for emergency tree removal, plow operators can focus on plowing, and if necessary, these contractors can respond off hours for downed trees and county roads and right away for county personnel, emergency personnel. This is Merrill Road. We received 6 quotes from tree removal contractors based on 8-hour shifts ranging from 2,200 to 4,200, which include responding at any hour of the day. This is a nice photo, hard and flat, but look how narrow they had to do quite a few passes here. So for that, we are asking that the appropriations be increased by $50,000 in the Public Works Fund, but the actual amount transferred over will be based on actual costs, reimbursable costs, for up to $50,000. And then I want to say this is a photo of our graders. There were a lot of folks who spent their holidays getting power on and taking down dangerous trees, plowing and sanding roads, responding to emergency calls. And we just want to say a big thank you to everybody, not just our road crews, but everybody that helped out. There were a lot of hands that helped out with this effort, especially during the holidays. So, and with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right, bring it to the board. Are there any, start with Supervisor Half, question, comment?
No questions, Kim. I just want you to be able to convey from us our warm thank you, for all that they did during the holidays. And I really like that you added all of these pictures because it really helps paint the story for the public as well. Thank you for a job well done. And I'm in full support of giving your team what they need in terms of another outside contractor to help with the job if it should happen again.
Thank you.
Campbell?
Yeah, and I'm in full support as well. I mean, this is what our job is. Is to try and budget for the kind of weather we expect to have, and when the unexpected happens, we need to. This is why we have contingencies, is for this type of thing. I was not up in the Cedar Ridge area for certainly as long as our crews were, but I went around a fair amount, and the number of downed trees is incredible. So I know people up there were pretty frustrated with the power being out for 8 days, but I really am not surprised based on what I saw that we did have those kind of power outages. But the roads were clear. They were really, really well done this year. I think there was only maybe that first couple of days where passage was more difficult. But I think the county, for our part, we did a fantastic job. And by us, I mean you and the road crews that are out there. Like I said, I was up there for maybe, I only had to be cold for a couple hours, whereas these guys were cold for hours and hours at a time. So I think we did you did a phenomenal job this time. So thank you.
I'll pass that along. Thanks.
Yeah, all those comments, I concur with entirely. Just much thanks to all your staff, right? This is over a holiday period of time. They're missing time out, from their family, and doing it willingly and working extremely long hours. It's part of their job. They're expected to do it, but they need to be recognized, for what they did and being out there. And, thank you very, very much and all the staff, you know,
I'll
for
pass
what
that
they did. And I understand Mike got pretty sick during the period of time even. And so that, you know, it's tough, right? They're out there and they're continuing to push and do it. So, thank you.
Thanks.
And Supervisor Brandon, you have any comments, questions?
I think just in line with what everybody else said, my district's not too used to getting a lot of snow, so we really appreciate all the plowing crews, all the effort that went into that. I know they work very long shifts. So my appreciation to Kim, Blossom, Mike, everybody that was out there keeping it clear. Thank you.
So I do have one question, then I'll close with a couple comments. Is this monies for, are we going to start doing tree work now, or is this for potential future storms?
For future.
Okay.
I think we're caught up now.
Okay. Yeah, everybody's already said it. I know Mike was sick. He's a manly man. He was out there working hard, so I can't thank him enough, and the staff. It was a holiday weekend, and I've worked holidays, and it's not fun. So thank you, staff. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I think my only other question is, now that we have this hot patch machine and we've done plowing, if there's some major potholes, are those things that are being discussed to address before the next storms to keep it from getting worse?
So I do think we have to have a temperature minimum, and right now it's a little too chilly.
Gotcha.
So once the temperature warms up a bit, we can start addressing those potholes, because yes, things have lifted.
Yeah, okay. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. And again, like I was getting calls throughout the whole weekend, and it seemed like as soon as somebody would call me, complain about a road, the team was out there and they'd hit it within an hour. So people thought I was like doing magic. I'm like, yeah, not me though, but it's the crew. So thank you guys. It would have been nice to say I did that, but I didn't. It was the team. So thank you guys, and stay safe out there. So I will look for did I already do a motion? No, I need a motion.
I'll move on staff recommendation.
And do we have public comment?
Did I not public comment? Oh, that's going to be my downfall. That's my downfall. Public comment. I'm just going to hold up cards. What do I do? I'm going to stick this.
It takes a little while to develop a habit, so
I know,
figured
right?
you're establishing, getting your motion first and then asking for public
Thanks for being
comment.
patient
But
with
I appreciate Cody looking out for me. So I think your road crew, when the weather's better, should come here and get a public acknowledgement, all of them, because it's pretty impressive. And I listen, people want to bitch and whine at me all the time, but you have no idea how many miles of road there are here. And I heard a lot, and I'm really disappointed that CHP didn't give us any local data, but I have asked them to give us 2020 data when they have it all together. But people were driving too fast, and they were driving stupidly. I couldn't believe it. I mean, it's wet, it's dark, it's raining, it's snowing, and people are driving like 50 miles an hour. And then I saw people doing U-turns on Washington Street at 5 o'clock in the in the evening when it's dark and it's raining and there's traffic. I must have seen 5 people do U-turns at Greenlee and Mono Way. So I wasn't even up in the high country, but in the parking, I just couldn't believe it. So we really need to, once again, I'm going to be a broken record. We need to look at public information and public outreach on how to be a responsible driver and how to be a responsible pedestrian, how to be a responsible bicyclist, and how to be a responsible motorcyclist. Because I just saw things that were frightening, and then you have to go up and deal with it, and emergency crews have to go out and rescue people. Who walks around Pinecrest Lake in the middle of a snowstorm and gets to the far side and then gets trapped, and you're not even dressed appropriately? And then our emergency crews have to go out and rescue you. They better get a big bill for that. Anyway, we need to be more responsible citizens.
All right. Well put. I am going to, is there any more public comment? Going once, going twice. No more public, nothing online. Oh, this is going to be fun. Okay, look for I believe you made a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve staff recommendation.
I'll second.
All right, so I have a first by Campbell, a second by Goldenberg. We'll do a roll call.
Supervisor Goldenberg,
Aye.
Supervisor Campbell,
Aye.
Supervisor Kirk,
Aye.
Supervisor Half,
Aye.
Supervisor Brandon.
Aye.
All right, motion carries 5-0. Thank you, guys. They're online? Okay. Do they need a few minutes to set up? Cole, this is Kirk. Do you need a, I was going to crack a joke, but never mind.
We are all set, Supervisor Kirk, so Heather can read the
I'm
action
going to
item.
beam you up.
Okay, presentation on broadband roadmap status.
Good afternoon, Chairman Kirk and Board of Supervisors. I apologize for not making it today. I had hopes to be there, but unfortunately we had an exposure, so being better safe than sorry and not joining you in person. But today we are doing a broadband update for the Central Sierra Roadmap. This, as a reminder, is the Economic Development Administration grant that we put out in June of 2019 and received of April of 2021. We are nearing the midline process with our primary consultant, NeoConnect, with Diane Cruz, who is on to do a presentation and give you an update of where we're at. And towards the end there, I will also give you a little bit of an update on my behalf as well. Just as one last reminder, we did do an RFP process for the primary consultant. We received 3 to 4 bids, with NeoConnect being the top scorer, and a sub-consultant of California Forward, who will deal specific outreach to those that are seniors 65 plus and youth of 18 and under, to really make sure we're hitting all of our community. And NeoConnect is headlining outreach to those throughout our community. So with that, I will let Diane start her presentation, and I will be here the whole time to answer more questions and also give one final update and an announcement towards the end. So Diane, off to you.
Great. Thank you, Cole. Hello, everybody. If I could share my screen, I'll go ahead and put up the PowerPoint presentation. It looks like you just gave me that. Let me share my screen. And let me put it on presentation mode here.
Can we get that TV up? Oh, it's ITV.
Okay, are you able to see my screen? Okay, good. As Cole mentioned, my name is Diane Cruz. I'm the CEO of NeoConnect. We are a consulting firm that works with local governments on broadband planning. And I personally have been in this industry for 35 years, and we've been working with communities, municipalities, and counties on broadband planning for over 10 years as NeoConnect. As Cole mentioned, we have started the broadband roadmap for the Central Sierra 5-county region. And I wanted to just give you an update in terms of where we are in the process, what work still needs to be done, and how the timing of this study is aligning perfectly with some of the funding mechanisms that are available for broadband in response to the pandemic. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the broadband activities that are underway and give you an idea of a timeline. We'll talk about the current broadband landscape in your county, what can be done, and then I'll talk about the American Rescue Plan Act and the infrastructure bill and some of that funding and how it hopefully will line up perfectly with what we're doing from a timing standpoint. So to give you an idea of what type of tasks are underway, we started the project in September of last year, and a lot of the preliminary work to begin the study is providing the foundation to gather GIS data, identify where your anchor institutions are, identify what existing services are in place today, and to map those existing assets in the 5-county region. Those assets are things like existing fiber optic cable, where you might have tower facilities, what government facilities that are government owned that could potentially be used to help improve broadband services. So that work has been completed. We also, in November, we identified where in each of the 5-county region we have real severe needs where there is very little broadband service. And we identified who the existing internet service providers are. I will make a quick point about our process here. Typically what we do is our goal is to work with your existing providers and not necessarily say that the counties should come in and replace or overbuild what they're doing. I think in all of our projects, we have been very successful in putting together public-private partnerships and partnership agreements, working with the Departments of Transportation, in Caltrans, for example, in this case, working with the power companies, working with the existing service providers to work together to improve broadband services. So we've identified where there are needs in the county and where there is broadband service that is lacking. And now we're starting the capital cost estimates. So to give you a number of priority areas and the associated capital costs for improving broadband services in those areas, and what types of levels of investment would be recommended, who your potential partnerships might be. We'll provide financial modeling and then hopefully align those with the funding mechanisms that are available. And what you'll see from us in the January, February timeframe is a written plan with strategies and recommendations, and hopefully wrap up our suggestions for improving broadband in the counties. So this is a map of sort of zoomed in on your county, but also includes some of the surrounding counties. Scenic is a organization that applied for funding during the stimulus program of the 2010 era. With that funding, they built a fiber network that's shown in blue on this map, connecting schools and libraries and institutions of learning, higher institutions of learning, and research facilities. And so they built a pretty strong, what we refer to as a middle mile fiber network throughout the 5-county region. And they also have provided, Scenic has provided areas that would be their recommendation for expansion, and those are shown in red on the map. And then the CVIN network, which is a network that has been somewhat piggybacking off of the Scenic network. I'm going to show you where their facilities are in a minute, but they have fiber up in Amador County, and they brought it down and have expanded it in Tuolumne County as well. This map also shows a pretty good snapshot of where we have areas that are currently served with broadband service. Those are shown in this purple. And then the rest of the areas are areas where we have slow service or unserved areas. And so these will be our primary focus, if you will, putting together estimates for all of these locations within the county. I want to give a couple of standards. So a lot of the funding mechanisms are driven based upon areas that are considered served or underserved or unserved. And there are a number of different standards that either the state agencies or the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, provides as a standard. So currently the FCC has a standard of defining you have broadband service if you have service of 25 megabits per second in download speeds and 3 megabits per second in upload speeds. And the California PUC has a lower definition, if you will. It's 10 megabits in download and 1 megabit per second in upload. what we're finding, especially after the pandemic, is that this standard of 25/3 service is a very low benchmark, and it is not good enough to support the types of activities that people are doing at home. So what we saw after the pandemic is kids were attending school online. They were doing it via video conference. Video files carry much larger bandwidth than, say, just a conference call. And so that requires more bandwidth. What we're seeing is there's a number of appliances and medical devices and TVs, and there's hundreds of devices that are now connected to the internet, and all of those devices take up bandwidth as well. So this standard of 25/3 is a low standard. It's really not good enough. The state of California has come up with a new goal of a minimum of 100 megabits per second in download and 100 megabits per second in upload speeds, to have that in place for all homes and businesses within the state of California by the end of 2024. There are 8,000 people in your county that have no wired internet provider at all. And there's 76% of the county do have the 25/3 definition of broadband. 74% have 100 megabits per second. These don't add up to 100 because they're buckets, if you will. If you've got 100 megabits per second, you also have 25/3 service. And then the gold standard that many municipalities and counties are aiming for is to shoot for the gold standard of a gigabit service, which is 1,000 megabits per second in download and 1,000 megabits per second in upload service. Comcast states that they offer that level of service in Sonora and in Jamestown. Comcast, as a cable provider, typically provides higher download speeds than upload speeds. One thing that we will do with our estimates is we will provide estimates for priority areas that have no broadband service. We'll also provide estimates for those that have no broadband service in 25/3, and then we'll provide a threshold of what would it cost for those that have less than 100/100, and then we'll provide costs that would provide service of a gigabit service to the entire county. And then those will hopefully line up with the various funding programs that are available. So what can be done to improve broadband? So I often say that there's a wide spectrum of things that you can do. On one end of the spectrum, you can do what I call do everything plan. And that is build out middle mile fiber networks, build out last mile fiber networks, build fiber to every home and to every business and anchor institution, build fiber to your tower facilities. And that's, if you will, the do everything plan. On the other end of the spectrum, there's a do nothing plan. And that is just basically leaving up to the existing service providers to build infrastructure, and the county would not necessarily be involved. What I'd like to say is that there's 100 or so do something plans. And the good news is that broadband service can be improved with money. It's a problem that can be solved with money. And the other good news that I have is that there's a lot of funding that's available in the American Rescue Plan Act and in the infrastructure bill for improving broadband. So this is something that you can actually make a huge difference for the county by putting together a plan that provides you with a number of priorities and shovel-ready projects. But a couple of other things that you can do is you can put good policies in place that are broadband friendly. And I'll talk about one of those policies that's in place. I think that you have a variety of this in place, but there's some things that you can do to sharpen it. Create a roadmap and create tools for service providers to use. At the end of this study, Cole is working to put all of this information out on an online tool that would be available for service providers that would show where there's existing assets in the counties, where the areas are served versus underserved and unserved, and then capital cost estimates in working with the providers. So this roadmap and the tools will be something that the service providers can have ready access to, and hopefully create a dialogue with the providers to co-invest and hopefully improve broadband throughout the counties. Many counties will elect to build middle mile infrastructure. So as I mentioned, middle mile infrastructure is often referred to as fiber or very high gigabit point-to-point wireless services. Those are usually connected to what I call internet supply. So just like a water system, in order to have robust and abundant water, you need to have access to water supply. Same goes for internet services. You need to have access to the internet supply, which are typically data centers that are located in large metropolitan areas. And when you can get connectivity between your large communities or areas where there's a large number of businesses and households and connection to internet supply, that is a very good investment to make because you're taking away the largest cost for a service provider. The other thing that many counties are doing is they're working in partnership with the service providers and other stakeholders to help improve last mile services by potentially co-investing in infrastructure. We're applying for a grant as a co-applicant. So I wanted to talk a little bit about a policy that we recommend, and at the end of this, we'll provide sample language for the county to adopt if you haven't done so already. But one of the most important policies that will help lower the cost of fiber infrastructure is a shadow conduit policy or a dig once policy. So many of the counties in the region have a dig once policy, which just basically says that anytime there's work being done in the road or the public right of way, either by you or by other utility providers, and the trench is open, if you will, or there's an opportunity to put in conduit, that you provide notification to your providers to put in conduit. That's essentially what a dig once policy is. But taking it a step further, you could implement a shadow conduit along key roadways that, again, we'll provide in our recommendation, that if there's work that's being done in the right of way, the county would pay for just the incremental cost of putting in shadow conduit along key distribution routes within the county. And that reduces your costs, especially, I loved the comment that was made that it's, flat for your county. Because you have undulating terrain and because you have a lot of rock, it's very expensive to put in conduit in the roadways. It can be anywhere up to $50 a foot to put in conduit. But when the trenches are open and you can put in shadow conduit when work is being done, that cost is often reduced to $5 to $7 per foot. And so it's a good way for you to put in infrastructure that can be used later for broadband services. And we should include municipalities in this discussion as well. I already talked about middle mile infrastructure and why it's so important. The main point here is that you are reducing the cost for backhaul or transport to the internet for the service providers. Typically, those costs are based upon a mileage basis. And so if you're remote and rural and in large mileage away from a large metropolitan area where the data centers are located, the service providers have to pay on a per mile basis. And so when you're putting in middle mile infrastructure or fiber to these internet supply locations, you're reducing the cost to essentially 0 miles. So dramatically lowering the cost for backhaul and transport for the internet service providers. That in turn is hopefully an incentive for them to co-invest in the county to provide better last mile access for homes and businesses. So this again provides a little bit more detail on what you have in place today. So this blue line is the scenic line that was installed during the 2010 era. The red lines are those that they see as priority routes. This sort of light lavender pink line is the CVIN network. They're doing business as VAS networks. And then the PUC has put out where they believe their highest priority is for investment. So the state of California is already going to invest in middle mile infrastructure, and this is what they have published as the priority middle mile investment areas within the 5-county region. Going a little bit deeper, the CVIN network that we were showing on the previous slide up in Amador County, they also have provided additional investment from Stockton up to the county near Sonora and then going up to Jackson. The point here is to try to leverage this existing fiber, and all of the service providers in the region are already usually working with VAS networks to reduce their backhaul and transport costs. So that's good. We want to, leverage whatever existing fiber is in place. This is a really busy slide, and I'm not going to go through all of the details of it, but I mentioned that there's a lot of funding that's available in the American Rescue Plan Act for broadband. In fact, there's $340 billion that's available for broadband funding. And there's a number of different pools of funding administered through various agencies. We've had a lot of success in working with the Economic Development Administration, EDA. Not only will they fund roadmaps and studies, they'll also fund infrastructure because they realize that broadband is a key component of any Economic Development Administration initiatives. So you can't have a good economic development strategy without really good broadband. So we have applied for funding on behalf of a number of customers to leverage the EDA program to build out fiber infrastructure through your, commercial centers and industrial centers. The Treasury Department has a capital project of $10 billion that is available for broadband. E-rate, which is a program that normally funds connectivity for schools, has additional funding through the ARPA program. And then the counties and municipalities, as you know, has received a per capita allocation for funding. And one of the uses, including broadband, is water and sewer. So that fund could be used for improving broadband infrastructure. And then the tribes are also receiving funding through the ARPA plan. The state has set aside an additional $6 billion in broadband, and they have already put forward where they want to invest. I mentioned they are going to build middle mile fiber infrastructure, and they have committed to spending $3.25 billion for that, and then another $2 billion for last mile broadband connections. The federal infrastructure bill, or the Jobs Act, if you will, provides an additional $65 billion for broadband investment. The last time we had this level of funding, it was $7 billion that was set aside for broadband during the stimulus program. What we have available is life-changing for many of your citizens for generations to come. And so I highly recommend that you take advantage of this opportunity to improve broadband within your county. Before I get into next steps, Cole, do you want to talk a little bit about what we're doing in terms of outreach with the surveys and the community webinars?
Yeah, so right before the holidays, we started to do a soft release of a survey that we've done through Survey Planet that gives us the outreach and the information from the citizens, kind of how they're feeling about broadband, what's their current speeds in terms of how are they feeling, and is it fast, is it slow, so that we can start to gather that information that gives us nexus for when we apply for federal and state grant dollars. And so now we've already gotten about 600 responses across the 5 counties, which is a great, I think, soft release in terms of we're getting feedback of is this survey working within our community. We've gotten suggestions of adding things that are in terms of more related to businesses, more related to certain age demographics. And if you could stop sharing your screen just for a second, Diane, I do want to share with our Board of Supervisors, we are going to start releasing social media. So we've got it created. If you can see it now, this is our Share Your Opinion. It has a QR code. It'll bring you straight to the centralsierrabroadband.com website that hosts the survey. So we will be sending this out to all of the 5 county economic development departments and 5 county Board of Supervisors, and then also the chambers and those visitor bureau community or business community or any of those organizations that will actually do some outreach and allow us to kind of spread this information farther to get an even more varied response. One of the things that we'll note on, let me share my screen of this is the survey just to kind of give you an idea of where we're at. You can see we've had about 614 responses. Are you seeing my screen, Diana? Perfect. And you can see that what we're really missing right now is those under the 18. And that's pretty intentional. Again, we have California Forward, who is on task to help us with this, do outreach specifically to superintendents and the school districts and those organizations that deal with the community under 18. And I also think once we do some social media push, you'll see that number jump if they're engaged youth. So we'll see how that goes. But I think we're going to get some nice, good, varied responses. One last thing I wanted to share and speak to is Diane did address it just briefly, is that one of the goals of this roadmap is it's not just a paper document. While we've hired Diane to do exactly what she's doing, which is to create this report as a document, one of the things that we've been stressing is that we wanted to also create this as a digital component. And so one of the great things about our Economic Development Administration grant is that we have funds remaining and available so that by the time Diane has a draft, we can release an RFP to get a technology group or organization that has experience in GIS and economic development to take a lot of this information that Diane's put together and create a map that'll allow an internet service provider or any community member to essentially say, from address X to address Y, even if it's across multiple county lines, where's the unserved? What's the best case scenario across the county governments? What are those permits and processes? What grants, what funding opportunities are available, so that we can make it very clear that this is how we're going to help you as an internet service provider deliver and make our community as connected as possible. So that was my reminder. And the biggest thing is we're going to have a social media push later this week, and I'll be sending you an email, Board of Supervisors, with some of that collateral to then share it to your social medias too. So Diane, why don't you share your screen and wrap us up?
Okay. Okay. So as I mentioned, we're compiling the capital costs, and we'll have a number of projects that are shovel ready, and hopefully those will line up from a timing standpoint, the state and federal grant programs that are coming available. We expect a lot of the announcements in terms of the grant application process to be later this quarter, maybe into the second quarter. So from a timing standpoint, this is really good timing. As Cole mentioned, we are starting our outreach with the surveys. We're also going to have community webinars starting at the end of January and February, so that the public can engage in a more informal way through a webinar and provide, a platform for a conversation about what the existing services are and what the challenges that residents are seeing because of broadband service. We should have our report completed towards the end of January, beginning part of February, based upon what type of response that we've received on the surveys. And at the end of this, you'll have a report with a number of priority projects that are shovel ready with the hopes of then giving you the necessary tools to potentially apply for grant funding in partnership with the service providers. So with that, what questions do you all have?
All right, so we're gonna bring it back to the board for discussions. I do see the time as 11:50, so I know we're gonna have important questions, so let's move it along, but I do wanna, I would eventually like to get to the next item prior to lunch break so we can get staff out of here and call it a day. So with that being said, bring it back to the board, and I know Supervisor Half is deeply intimate with this issue and she's fervently writing, so we're gonna start with Supervisor Half.
Yeah, and I may have questions that the rest of you have that will make the time go by quicker, but I do have quite a few questions. First of all, thank you for your presentation. I want to start with CVIN, or also known as Vast Network. They built a middle mile project, back in 2013-14. And to my knowledge, they haven't been very accessible. It's been a problem for any internet service provider to tap into this middle mile. And I want to know if things have changed more recently, if they are answering their phones, number one, if they are a little bit more cost friendly, because they were almost they were in the category of cost prohibitive. So what can you tell us about that?
Supervisor Half, I can address that. I'm actually in frequent contact with Vast Network, and for a while there was, as you say, a lack of communication and access. In fact, for a long while, we had only one business connected to the Vast Network in Tuolumne County. Right. But what I can say is in the past half of a year, they added staff. His name is Adam Hughes, and he has come to a Tuolumne County Business Council meeting. He has done outreach to not only our county IT department, but they've also gone to Adventist Health, TUD, multiple opportunities and where we can connect to the Vast Network now. So yes, I agree there was a bit of frustration on my part and your part and our county with the Vast Network, but I do see some changes, but we'll see where that goes from there.
Okay, I just want to know if in the planning documents there is any idea of possibly buying this network from them so that we can make sure that anybody who wants to plug into a manhole can. Is that part of the planning possibilities?
If you would like us to put in some information about how these networks are typically valued and what that would look like, we can certainly do that. Typically, another maybe interim plan might be to acquire fiber directly in an IRU or an indefeasible right of use, which gives you the ability to have a 20 to 30 year exclusive use of a certain number of strands of fiber. That might be an interim step of getting access to that fiber. You can do whatever you want with that fiber, and that might be a more reasonable step than a flat-out acquisition. I don't know if you're open to that. We can certainly reach out and see if that's a possibility, but maybe an interim step might be an IRU that you could purchase for your exclusive use.
Great, yeah. Any and all ideas that open this existing middle mile project up to be used, because I'm frustrated, as you can hear in my voice, with what has not happened so far. So whatever ideas you have that might work with the current people who run Vast Networks would very much be appreciated. So I noticed that in your definitions, you put the 25 down and 3 up are the new rules for the Treasury. But I want to know what you consider no broadband service. Would no broadband service be considered the 10 down and 1 up at this point?
So for the federal programs, no broadband service means 25 by 3 or less.
Okay, good.
Yep, so that's good. And I think that what we've seen from the Treasury Department, they have somewhat loosened the rules for applying, who is eligible to apply for grant funding. So in the past, the programs have been that if there's one building within a census block that has 25 by 3, then the whole entire census block is served, which is frustrating, right? And now the Treasury Department rules are that if there's one building within the census block that does not have access to it, then the entire census block doesn't have access to it. So that's good. That's a loosening
Perfect.
of the rules and definition. The other thing that we're seeing from the Treasury Department is the ability for counties to say that that standard, although that's highest priority, the counties could state that they can spend money on areas that have less than 100 by 20 megabits per second, because it's a new term that they're referring to as underserved. So I think that that's also good news, because that loosens where you can put your priority funding in place. So for areas that have less than 100 by 20. The other rules are that you have to spend money on infrastructure that will support a minimum of 100 by 20. And there's a little bit of flexibility. It's completely impractical for you to do. But the fact that they're putting this type of language in the rules for funding, I think, is a good sign. So we'll provide all of those different levels of priorities for you, so that you can determine where you'd like to potentially apply for funding.
Okay, thank you. Now on slide 5, one of the statements there is in this county, 76% here have at least 25 down and 3 up, and I actually find that hard to believe. I'm wondering if this is based upon what our ISPs are saying that they have available or that they offer, because I do not believe that constituents are getting or are subscribing to that type of service. I think it's still quite a few that are still on 10.1. I know if they're not on Comcast, which plenty of our constituents are not, they are not getting 25 and 3. So I'm just wondering if you could speak to that, please.
Yeah. Yes, I can definitely speak to that, and I agree with you. So the maps that are compiled that the FCC uses to determine if an area is eligible for funding or determine whether they have meet the minimum definition of 25 by 3 are based upon data that is submitted quarterly by the service providers on a form called their 477 form. And the information that the service providers submit to the FCC is based upon advertised speeds rather than actual speeds. And it's also based upon the fact that if there is one building within a census block that's served, the entire census block is served. This is a national conversation that we all are aware of, that these maps are notoriously incorrect.
Right.
And so what we're seeing again in the Treasury Department rules is that there are other methodologies that you can use to determine whether or not an area meets that definition of served. The NTIA, which is the agency that is administering many of the grant programs, has submitted a new map that provides what is called an indication of being unserved. And that map relies upon actual speed test data that has been compiled through the likes of companies like Ookla and other organizations that gather actual speed test data from actual homes and businesses. And so they have mapped out areas where there's an indication that those services are not meeting the 25 by 3 standard, and that the actual down speeds are substantially less than that. That's another tool that can be used to provide information on whether an area is served or not. And then we typically take it a step further. Many of the service providers allow you to enter addressed specific data into their websites. And it will tell you what services you can actually order from the service providers. And if you can't order 25 by 3, then by gosh, you don't have that standard. So that's another tool that we will provide, where we'll provide information that you can, actually order from the various service providers at an address level data.
Okay, very good. I'm interested in knowing more about the NTIA tool. It sounds like they've done some ground truthing, and then there's going to be another tool that you will provide our public to use to further ground truth, whether the stated speeds are available to them. And I think that's good, because I would like to see more accuracy so that we get the kind of funding that we need, because this is incorrect from what, from what you have just said and what I know to be true. Just a couple more. I'm sorry, I just have quite a few things here. This is a suggestion, and I don't know how you would incorporate it. I'm just going to lay it out there. And it's actually swiped from another county. Nevada County has done an EIR for their whole county as far as broadband goes. And you mentioned tons of funding that we have coming down through the pike, whether it's state, federal, or other entities. And I would like to see a suggestion for what kind of grant we can apply for and how we can get an EIR for broadband done for our entire county so that we're shovel ready for projects. We're ahead of the curve. So I would really like to see this be included in this broadband roadmap if you feel that it fits. And then my final statement is that I think the rest of the board can see, especially from those, I think it was 2 or maybe even 3 slides, how much money is coming down the pike. We need staff. We have no staff that is familiar with broadband. Cole and myself are it. And so we don't want to wait until the funding is here, because we'll be behind. So I'm just hoping that there's a willingness on our board's part to really get behind this and figure out how we're going to get the right people in position, so that, and the planning that the broadband roadmap is going to be providing, so that we're more than ready. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Just before I pass it off to the board, I would suggest we have the board retreat coming up. I think that'd be a really good place to talk about priorities. And I agree, things are presenting themselves, whether we think of them or not. And I think our board is completely behind the idea. And we have been about broadband, so I think it'd be a good place to have that conversation. Open up to Campbell, if you have any questions or comments.
Yeah, just so if you could go to slide 9 with the maps of the different fiber networks. I don't know if you're able to share that, Diane.
Yes, we can. 2 seconds here.
Okay. There it is. Okay, so just so I understand, the first 2 slides are existing high-speed fiber internet connections, correct?
The first 2 slides are
Our first 2
the blue line
maps.
is existing. Yeah, the first 2 maps. The blue line is existing fiber with scenic, and this kind of purple pinkish line is what CVIN has in place. The red lines are proposed. Those red lines are not existing fiber.
Okay. And then the last.
And then this third map.
Yeah, so
yeah,
the last
third
map is
what
that what we're proposing, and we're trying to follow the PUC proposed fiber lines, or are we trying to go beyond that?
So we might want to go beyond that.
Okay.
So this is what the state has shown as a priority of where they would invest. I mentioned that there's $6 billion that the state has set aside for broadband, and a portion of that is for middle mile broadband. And this is what the state PUC is showing as priorities for their middle mile investment.
Okay, and so they've actually come to us and told us that these are their priorities, and so if we were to try and work on these areas, we've already got we've already got an ear that will listen to us.
Yes.
Okay, and so that's kind of where I was going. Is that where, so if you go to the last slide slide 12 with next steps, to me, it's kind of like there's really only one next step, which is shovel-ready projects. You know, these other three bullets are kind of their means to an end, but the end should be getting those shovel-ready projects that are on that third map. And so when would you expect to have something like that? You know, some idea of what we can go back to the state with as an idea to try and make use of some of these funds that we know are either available now or going to be available.
What we would recommend is, because the state is already planning to expand the existing fiber, and they're already contemplating building out to those areas on that third map, what we would recommend is that the county then would leverage that investment to go further into your communities with building fiber to homes and businesses. So you would complement what the state is already planning to do. You would take that further and build out last mile projects. So there wouldn't be a duplication of effort or funding, if you will. So we should have those priority areas and the associated capital costs with those areas in, by the end of February, so that you could go to the state and or other federal programs to apply for funding to build out to those areas.
And so that
Just
we'd
to
be,
add, Supervisor Campbell,
yeah.
that is amazing timing. And not only that, but we're far ahead of many other counties and regions in the state of California in terms of this shovel-ready planning document. So we are ready to strike.
Okay. Yeah, and that's kind of where, because if we wait, for the state to do what they want to do, we'll already be behind the way they act. So
The planning with Caltrans, all those on that third map, all those green lines were on highways. So that middle mile project is planned with the Department of Technology, that's going to have a broadband czar, and Caltrans to build out fiber. That's going to happen. So we would be building off of that.
okay. Yeah. Well, the main thing I was trying to make the point that we have these other steps, but really we're looking for shovel-ready projects to build off of. To me, that's as long as we keep that focus there.
Right, and I wanted to also, on this slide that you're on right now, you don't have the full extension of the CVIN fiber because it does come through Calaveras and Tuolumne, and that's not shown on this middle map here. So that's the area that we can build out from if we can get some kind of agreement with the vast network people, to let ISPs somehow, tap into this, because it's already there. So that would be shovel ready right there, even though it doesn't show the full extension.
Right. Yeah, my maps are not updated. We received some of the CVIN additional data just yesterday, and so that's why I wanted to just include it. But you're right, our last map here doesn't show the additional expansion of the network. We have worked with other counties in California. For example, in El Dorado County, we've been working with them for several years, and their service providers are actually working well with CVIN. They're leveraging the vast network to use middle mile fiber. So companies like CalNet and other companies that are providing services have had success in working with CVIN. So I don't know if they have a different person that's responsible for your county, but we can dive into that a little bit more and find out what the situation is in terms of access to their fiber. And then I agree, if it's difficult to get access to fiber within your county through CVIN, maybe another strategy might be to just get access to a certain dedicated number of fibers that you have control over. We've done that in other counties and other states as well.
Okay.
That was all I had.
Okay.
Okay.
I had just a couple of comments, questions. My understanding, we as a board, we recently attended the California State Association of Counties, the CSAC conference, and they indicated that the new state maps would be updated and out by January 1st. So I'm curious as to where that stands. And also regarding the CVIM, I'm really not familiar with it. I did a quick look on the internet, and looks like it dated back quite a number of years, back to 1995, I believe. And I'm just wondering what rules, how they were funded, and what rules they have to play by as far as offering connectivity, through the network. And I had the same concern that the map didn't show it going through Tuolumne County, and really am kind of surprised that if it's been around for this long period of time, why we only have one business in Tuolumne County that is hooked up to that. I mean, that makes no sense to me. And I understand, Cole, I think, made mention that there was maybe a couple additional others, but we should have a lot of them on there. And I don't understand the funding source, how that came about. So maybe if you can explain that.
Sure. So with CVIN, they're a private organization, and so and broadband, unfortunately, is unregulated. So there's very little we can do to force a company to provide access to their fiber. They're not required to do so, and there isn't, any leverage that we can apply in terms of forcing them to provide access. The leverage that we've applied in other states is sort of the threat of we're going to build it ourselves and compete directly with you. So either work with us or we're going to, just build over what you have already in place. We've done that in Colorado, in the western part of the state. It's very similar terrain where it's, in the mountains and high rock. There was only one other provider that had fiber in the area. And what this region of counties did is they worked with the power company and worked with the Department of Transportation to get access to a fiber network that they owned and controlled. And so, unfortunately, as a unregulated entity, we can't force them in any other way, if you will, other than to say we're going to overbuild.
Okay, so
we can put pressure on them from the state to get access to their fiber.
Right, I hear what you're saying. So I guess, so they didn't receive public funding to build out that network? Is that, and if they did receive public funding, then why isn't access being allowed? That would be my question.
Yeah, that's such a good question. So the scenic network did receive public funding to build this blue line, and they received funding. So they did receive public funding for this network.
Right, but I'm inquiring specifically for CVIN.
For this, yes. I don't think all of their network has been funded through the use of publicly funded programs.
Okay. I think we need a better understanding, and now's not the time, but I think that needs to be looked at closer. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go to Supervisor Brandon online. If you have any questions or comments.
Great. Cole, Diane, thank you so much, because this is exceptional. I think it's exactly what I was hoping to have come back from that grant you were able to get, Cole, to have us be really well positioned as not just leading in Tuolumne County with the plan, but regionally as well. And I'm very happy to see just how it gels with our partners as well. I had similar concerns to Supervisor Half. It was mentioned that 24% of people don't have internet access. 24% of our county is 12,700, not 8,000. So just wondering where the numbers are. Maybe that's not including kids, for example. But there's a lot of particularly rural areas in my district and also a few others where it's very unlikely a last mile connection will be made to connect the 6 houses in that area. And so I like that the first step you were saying of the 100 options we can do is the model policies. Now, how do we make it more accessible, easier to build, more consistent? I think that's very important. I think we need to update that in particular for wireless towers. I think fiber is fantastic, but because of having to dig and put it in with, as a utility, it's just not viable for these tiny clusters that are going to be very difficult to access. So one question, Diane, is, and to Cole, with this entire region, are we looking at trying to each individually adopt, at the beginning of last year, we adopted a dig once policy. We are looking at a stripped down, much more streamlined model wireless ordinance, tower ordinance. Are we all to be doing this individually, or are we looking to adopt a general model policy that all Central Sierra counties can enact?
So Supervisor Brennan, the ultimate goal and the request through the RFP with NeoConnect and Diane was recommendations for permits and process policies across the 5 counties that would be adopted in unison or in the same capacity, so that when an internet service provider went across county lines, the process did not change. So the document will give the overarching recommendations across the 5 counties on policies that we currently have that kind of cross and don't work together, but also could work together, and then give individual, here's the processes for your individual counties for permits that would be of assistance across the whole region.
Okay, great. Now I'm very happy to hear that. I wanted to also ask, in particular, so if you look from Calaveras and Amador up to Alpine, it does a loop. I remember growing up here at our business for about a week, nobody could use any internet sales transactions because a construction company had cut one of the lines, and it was not a very resilient system. I do have the one worry that coming off of the existing scenic backbone, the one rib, if you will, going up to Tuolumne, if there's any possibility or discussion of it going across, kind of like it does way north in Alpine. And Alpine does not have a large population. I think it's around a little under 2,000 people, if I'm correct. And that's a pretty big extension. Whereas kind of along 49, for example, between Columbia Angels, Camp Murphy's, it's a much more populated area. Are they only looking to do these ribs up, or is there any thought of trying to put lines across to make it more resilient?
Yeah, I think maybe that would be something that we would put in our recommendation. So taking the investment that the state is planning to make in the 5-county region and taking that further so that you have a much more robust and resilient fiber backbone network. You're right, when a line is cut, say here, and you're relying just on the spur, this could be taken down, and that could impact your banking transactions and internet access and everything that's associated with being online. So we would most likely include priorities and estimated capital cost of extending these lines that are being proposed. And typically they're along major highways and roads. And what we're doing, for example, with Mariposa County, we're having specific meetings with Caltrans to say, okay, so not only do we want this as a priority, but we want to extend it so that we can have a much more resilient network in place. And, this is a great investment. So I often tell my clients that you're currently solving a broadband challenge. You're putting in infrastructure and fiber so that you can have better broadband throughout your county. The problem that you're solving tomorrow is things like self-driving trucks and self-driving cars and, smart city type of applications, public safety, enhanced cellular service. And so this investment that you make in fiber to improve broadband is an investment that will not only solve the broadband challenge today, but all of these other applications that are coming down the road, your future, if you will. Those are the problems that are going to be solved with the same solution.
Absolutely.
Fiber. So,
and Supervisor Campbell, the same idea with the shovel-ready projects when this grant money is available to be able to apply for it. Just looking at it, I also see that Mariposa, they have a significant amount of redundancy there as well. And we seem to be the only one on the proposed project that doesn't really have any form of redundancy in the system. So if in any discussions that could be brought up, I know that you probably recognize that that's a important thing, and even if that ends up being a future thing of just having a plan for that, whether it goes south or north of 108. Let's see, and then I just had one last question. There's been a lot of discussion about massive undergrounding efforts by PG&E in the region, and how do we make sure? I mean, we've got obviously dig ones. We're talking, roads and utilities. Anytime we're digging, we should be laying internet conduit as best as we can. They are going to be potentially. We have some of the. I think we are one of the larger counties as far as the undergrounding mileage was going, and the rates are probably going to go up because of that with PG&E. If they're putting that in there, I'd like to make sure we're maximizing the value. So how are we ensuring when PG&E is laying lines underground that we're doing whatever we can to put internet with it as well?
So Supervisor Camp or Brandon, I can address that. Diane will address it in her roadmap. But I've been in frequent conversations with the senior regulatory analyst at PG&E regarding their undergrounding. So between Supervisor Half, myself, and California Emerging Tech Fund as well, we've been talking about it and advocating for it. So.
Okay, great.
And the other thing too is when you take your dig once policy and you take it just a step further and put in a shadow conduit policy, so you're going to get priority routes from NeoConnect in your roadmap, and it'll show you exactly where you need to invest conduit at a minimum. And so you can take that GIS map and you can couple that with a shadow conduit policy, which basically says that the county would pay for incremental cost of putting in shadow conduit when the work is being done along the public right-of-way. And then another recommendation, just taking it one step further, is to put it in your budget or to have a set aside so that when these opportunities come available, you have funding available that has been set aside for this purpose. So as Cole mentioned, we're going to take a look at the existing policies that are in place, and I'd like to sharpen them a little bit. Sharpen them, for example, with a shadow conduit policy and then a recommended set aside. That when these opportunities come available, you have the policies in place and they're consistent.
That's great. And I had one last question. This is probably the weird one, so I saved it at the end, and this could be a discussion for later. But being that we are also the public power agency, we have the Harvard Mine in my district and a kind of few unique assets. I know that the internet, I won't say I'm a huge expert, but it's not just the fiber optics. It's also data processing centers. Latency is another thing as well. Is there any plan in this besides just connectivity to have any type of, node or whatever that could be similarly either county subsidized or county run to start up if we're looking at laying the cable to increase speeds?
Yeah, so maybe a suggestion might be to put in a data center or a carrier neutral location. So a data center that you could use for the counties or the municipalities or other government agencies for your data needs. In other locations, they've also opened that up as a central location for internet service providers to co-locate their equipment. I think that's an excellent suggestion. And we do have a list of those anchor institutions. And if it's connected with fiber, and we can look at different facilities to make some recommendations on where those facilities could potentially be placed.
Thank you, Diane. And I know Cole's he's brought up some really great and creative ideas as well on that. I'd love to see the napkin notes on that as to whether it's even feasible in just concept. But being able to maybe look at that as well would be fantastic. Appreciate your time and all your work on this. It's really important for my district in particular too.
My pleasure.
Okay, we've heard from all the board members. I'll say my comments for the very end. Is there any public comment?
This weekend, I noticed it was an issue. I was out and about in downtown Sonora, and I was surprised at the number of businesses that were closed based on the number of tourists and the cars and the people walking the street. And a lot of them had to close, including Addictions, which is our most tech-savvy business downtown, I think, because they didn't have internet access and their phones weren't working. And still on Sunday, there were a lot of businesses that had access problems. So we have access problems all over this county, which impedes everybody, but to impede our businesses. So I fully support this, and the faster it can be done, the better.
Okay, any other public comment? All right, you guys we got some really smart people on this board and some, Diane, Cole, I'm glad you guys are working on this project. I'll keep it short and simple. I was hearing what Supervisor Half was saying about the EIR, like what Nevada County is doing. I made a comment, Cole, or I wrote down here, Cole, to make sure you bring things before the board that we can do to support this, but it sounds like you guys are already working on that as far as like the shadow policy, the undergrounding with PG&E. So I would just, I know this is an informational item only, but just continue to bring items forward as you discover them and things, ways that our board can help support this moving forward. Because I think it was put really well that this is unprecedented money is coming. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity, kind of like our water rights here in Tuolumne County. And we want to be ready and we want to move forward because broadband is economics, 100%, and especially into the future. So with that being said, I am going to close this item and thank you guys. Look forward to more in the future.
Thank you, board.
All right. Well, we are now going to move on to item number 13. Get this over so we can get everybody out to lunch and get back to work. So thank you. Board Clerk, would you please read item number 13?
Item number 13, consideration of appointing Kimberly Freeman, MD, as County Health Officer and approving her employment agreement, both to be effective April 19, 2022.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Steve Boyack from the Health and Human Services Agency. So it is with great pleasure to come before your board today after 2 long years searching for a permanent health officer to recommend for your consideration to appoint Dr. Kimberly Freeman as our health officer and our medical director for the Tuolumne County Emergency Medical Services Agency. Dr. Freeman comes to us with a vast and diverse experience. She has served as an emergency medical technician, a paramedic, a seasonal firefighter, an emergency room physician, a medical director for an emergency department, and most recently, chief operations officer for an Indian health clinic. And she has been under contract to provide medical director services to the Tuolumne County EMS agency. Dr. Freeman's proposed compensation package includes the following. She will start at range 6882, step C. That is slightly less than $231,000 per year. She will also receive 10 years of retention incentive pay, and she will also have available to her a $4,000 annual allowance to support costs associated with continuing education, professional memberships, licenses, and certifications. So it is respectfully recommended that your board appoint Dr. Kimberly Freeman as the Tuolumne County Health Officer and Medical Director for our EMS agency with the compensation package I just mentioned, which is also clearly outlined in her contract, to begin and make effective on April 19, 2022. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I'm going to bring it before the board, but just for the public who might be asking, Freeman is still active doctor and she's with clients today, so we can appreciate her schedule. And we look forward to meeting her again in person. But I just want to give the public an understanding as to why she's not here today. So I will open it up to board comments.
No, I'm just very pleased that we've gotten to this point. In a long time, Dr. Serjenko has been filling in admirably. You know, his help was extremely, you know, it just got us through a lot of tough times. And But that said, really looking forward to welcoming Kimberly Freeman aboard as our health officer. Thank you.
Yeah, and I agree with that as well. I did want to thank Dr. Serjenko for his time with us. I think I think Kim Freeman has big shoes to fill, and I think she absolutely can do that. She understands the community, has been here for a long time, and understands the county and working with the different medical groups, the hospital, and the tribal partners in the county really well. So she brings a great deal of experience and talent, I think, to the county. And really, it's we're not the only county that's struggled to find a public health officer. And so I think the fact that with her experience and qualifications stepping up to serve her community, I think is really admirable, and we're glad to have her on the team and really just welcome her to Tuolumne County.
So, what is it with public health officers being firefighters, huh?
Yeah.
Sounds like a good combination. It's worked well with Dr. Serjenko.
Yeah.
So, yes, this Dr. Freeman is very well qualified. We've had a chance to meet her, and I'm very excited about her coming on board. So, more to come, and it's very exciting. Thank you.
I think they're just overachievers in general.
Yeah.
That's what I've noticed.
Well, definitely public service oriented, and that's very welcome. Thank you.
Supervisor Brandon?
Yeah, I'm also excited for her to be joining the team at the county. I know that it's been a lot of stress in the HHSA Services and Program Center, trying to find a director for behavioral health, public health, and also with homelessness services coordination. And so that's been very difficult for a while. She comes preeminently qualified. I'm really also excited, the rest of the board said it, with her community background. To a lot of our local partners, as well as having a medical background, which is great, volunteer and kind of service background as well. And the fact that she's going to be able to serve two responsibilities, as much as I think that's difficult to continue asking of many of our staff, it is really efficient. And so even though the pay is pretty high for this position, I think overall compared to two, it would end up being quite a cost savings for taxpayers. So really excited to see a vote on this.
All right, before I make any comments, I'm going to open it up to the public. If there's any public comment.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Bill Caldera. I'm with Manteca Ambulance. I'm a paramedic here since 1979, and I've met a lot of health officers in my tenure. And I'm really excited to see Dr. Freeman accept this. She's been working with Manteca Ambulance, Tuolumne County, Bi-County Ambulance. She worked firefighting in Fresno. She owns a large piece of land, raises animals and children, and it's just a great all-around person. And I'm excited to see someone that has this background that's going to help build roots in our public health. She's been through a lot of the past challenges we've had, from Ebola, HIV, and now the Corona stuff. And she's well versed. She's also the president of the Emergency Medical Directors Physicians Association for the state of California, in case you weren't aware of that. So I just wanted to be here to thank Dr. Serjenko and look forward to working with Dr. Freeman moving forward. It's a great choice and worth every penny. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate all the positive comments, and I'm glad that someone's willing to accept this position. And I got along with Dr. Bernstein really well, and I still stay in touch with him. But he wasn't a local public health officer in many ways, and we haven't had a really good one since Dr. Stolp. So I'm looking forward to that. But I have a little bit of reservation about Dr. Freeman, because she has been chair of the Opioid Coalition in Tuolumne County. And I can't find that they've done anything. And I've asked. So the last data I could find was from 2018, and we had 56 drug overdose deaths in that year. And I haven't seen any data since. And we have a severe opioid problem in our county that we are not dealing with. And people are dying. And I know of 6 people last year that other people have communicated to me were drug overdose deaths. And we count a lot of things as accidents and whatever, but I don't have any data from last year other than what people have told me. But there was a press release that for the first time in our country, we had over 100,000 drug overdose deaths. We actually had 103,306 in a one-year period from April of 2020 to April of 2021, which was a 28.5% increase over the 78,000 we had in April of 2019 to 2020. So it isn't just a crisis in our county, it's a crisis across the nation. And we need to deal with this. So when Dr. Freeman comes and joins the county, I would like to hear from her that she has a plan of what we're going to do about opioid overdose deaths, about our problem here. I just want to see more than I've seen in the past couple of years.
Okay, is there any further public comment? Then on Zoom? Okay. I too also want to thank Dr. Sergenko. You know, he stepped in when this whole COVID stuff happened, and he absolutely didn't have to. And so I want to thank him. I think he's a true professional, a real gentleman. I can't imagine sitting in his seat with some of the conversations that took place the last couple of years, but he was always just a class act, and it made it really clear as far as his stance and how we got to take things as policy stances. So I really appreciate him and thank him, even though there may have been some disagreements. I think that's the way things work sometimes. So with that being said, I am also excited to bring Freeman on board. I've got to work with her a little bit on some of the committees. I think she's a fantastic woman. I love the fact that she has roots here, she has a young family here, and she has a lot of hands-on experience in the medical field. And I think that's a bonus to not just see things from a 30,000 elevation foot level, but to be there in the ER, saving people's lives. I think it's a really good combination, and it's going to be very welcomed here. So with that being said, I will look for a motion.
I'd like to move that we appoint Dr. Kimberly Freeman as County Health Officer and approve her employment agreement to be, both of them, to be effective April 19th, 2022 as a health officer.
Second.
All right, so I have a motion by Supervisor Half, a second by Supervisor Campbell, and we will do roll call.
Supervisor Goldenberg,
Aye.
Supervisor Campbell,
Aye.
Supervisor Kirk,
Aye.
Supervisor Haff,
Aye.
Supervisor Brandon.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Please give her our warmest welcome, and we look forward to seeing her again.
We'll have her back. Do a little bit more formal introduction.
Absolutely.
And address your board. Thank you.
Cool. All right. We can do reports. It's been kind of a quiet few weeks because of. You guys have anything to report? I'm fine with closing the meeting since it's been a quiet holiday. Okay. Okay, one thing to report. Go ahead.
Heather Ryan, Board Clerk. I just wanted to report out for the public that we have a list of upcoming vacancies and current vacancies for our committees and commissions. It is posted on our county website on the Board of Supervisors page. It's called our local appointments list for 2022. If you can please go there and look at the expiration dates for current held positions and all the positions that are currently marked as expired. Take a look at those and their details. You can also look up additional details on our county website under committees and commissions to see if you would be interested in applying. There's also a link to our application on that same webpage just below the link with the list. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to call our office at 209-533-5521, and I'll be happy to help.
And county council's waving.
I have something to report.
Sure.
On December 17th, Leah Morales in my office completed her associate's degree, which is also her paralegal degree. She took advantage of the county's educational reimbursement program to do that. And she was inspired to do it because she attended the 3-day high performance organization training that was offered. So I want to make sure, one, I'm so proud of her. She was so diligent in her work. She got straight A's. But also, you know, to thank Tracy and your board because you supported that. Tracy advocated for that program, and it truly changed Leah's life, but then it also is going to bring a huge benefit to the county. So I just want to tell everybody how proud I am of her, but also thank everybody for supporting it. Thank you.
CAO's office, you guys anything? Okay, well, with that being said, it is 12:40:03 seconds of January 4th, 2022, and this meeting is adjourned. Have a great day, guys.